Well. Good morning, guys. Also, Hectic has tried the beer can Pringles. Do not bring up the beer can Pringles here. Illegal. Not allowed. Not allowed. No beer can Pringles in this household. No beer can Pringles in this household. Also, fun fact, did y'all know Pringles don't count as chips? Push-up time. God damn it. All right, hold on.
There's our man.
Hold your horses. We're doing the push-ups real quick. Hold your horses.
Making the mother of all omelets here, Jack. Can't spread over every egg.
9, 10. Ugh. Okay. Push-ups done, shitheads. All right, let's do this. Taking the prongles, not the prongles. Hold the horses. I'm holding the horses. I'm totally not playing the horses on my phone. Shut up. I'm trying to win as Ryan. Leave me alone. But welcome in, guys. How is your Tuesday going? What trouble are you getting into? What shenanigans are you up to? I'm holding on to gold ship for dear life. Thank God. Metro Ryan Gamer, baby. She's 3-star. I got her to 3-star, and I still can't fucking win with her. She has, like, some of the races she goes from, like, 11 turns to train, 12 turns to train, 9 turns to train, 2, 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2. And it's like, what? Help. It sucks so bad. Dallas Scarlet moment. Listen, they're gay. Oh, no, wait. I'm thinking of vodka. Never mind. I'm thinking of vodka. It's Chewsday, isn't it? It is Chewsday, but it's not Chewsday because British. It's Chewsday because we're going to talk about food later. Pringles are barely potato and more potato starch products. Correct. Technically, when you make Pringles, they're basically made by, like, mushing potatoes into nothing and then sieving, like, the potato starch through the tiniest sieves imaginable to essentially get, like, the tiny sheet of Pringles. Actively helping ice with the rest, Humvees and all. Yeah, we knew that. Do y'all want a little bit of uplifting news that I found out this morning, though, that I think is absolutely fucking hilarious? If y'all didn't know, because of how understaffed and how low the emergency response has been from the U.S. government to Kerr County in Central Texas, southern Central Texas, do you want to know who came to help? Do you want to guess who came to help in Kerr County, in the Hill Country? I'll give you a hint, chat. It starts with M. It starts with M and ends with Extico. They sent, like, convoys of aquatic rescue teams to come help in Hill County. It's so fucking funny, dude. It's so fucking funny. What? I was gonna say, if y'all didn't know this, across California, New Mexico, basically all of the border states, they're more likely to get help from Mexico when they have a natural disaster than they are from the US government. Every year when California has wildfires in the South, Mexico sends firefighters. Taking our jobs. It's not the cartels, you fucking dork. But no, Mexico, weirdly, that's the weirdest thing too about, like, the American propaganda for or against Mexico is, for some reason, when it comes to, like, Americans and the propaganda that they try to spread, they try to make, like, this image that, like, because we don't care about other countries don't care about us. And they completely ignore the fact exactly how much Canada and Mexico do for the US. Again, all hands on deck. All right, guys. California's on fire again this year. Chief, when isn't it on fire? Shut up. Get your jacket. Is backed up by the Yakuza? Because it's horse racing? Who cares? Don't y'all remember they announced, like, the largest Yakuza family in Japan announced that they are no longer going to be doing turf wars. The head of the family, like, I think it was 2 or 3 months ago, we talked about it when it happened. He went to the largest police precinct and told them that they have no plans to commit much further violent crimes. Which I don't know if they've stuck to it because I haven't been able to keep my eye on the news for that kind of stuff. I was gonna say, crime families, I kind of trust their word, dude. I kind of trust their word. They'll lie to each other. They don't typically lie to the people. Damn volunteer scoundrels, how dare they try and spray our fires down and make our lives safer. Meanwhile, I'm in a state that deals with hurricanes, tornadoes, wildfires. The thing, too, is they will often respond to hurricanes and stuff. When Corpus got hit by, I think it was 2017, 2018? When was that major hurricane that hit the Texas coast? I'm forgetting the name. Let me see if it was 2017. Harvey, yeah, Harvey. When Harvey hit, Katrina was 2004. It was Harvey. When Harvey hit, I was in Corpus. Okay, I wasn't there when Harvey hit. I had gone home to avoid it. So I'd gone back inland, and then I came back. And there were Mexican rescue workers there. I don't mean, like, Mexicans living in the US. I mean people from Mexico. They had, like, the full, like, in Spanish. Oh, what the heck? Sorry, I just found a hole in the sleeve of this shirt. That sucks. Irma wreck shit too? Correct. Yeah, it was basically the double whammy of Harvey and Irma that year. Katrina was 2005, I should know. 2024 is when Charlie, Francis, and Jean decided to make our lives misery. I could have swore it was 2004. You're probably right, though. You're probably right. I lived inland at the time, and I was really young. So, Katrina. Wait. Why did I think it was 2004? Yeah, okay, August 2005. Okay, yeah. Yeah. Was a year after I was... Oh. True. Oh, 2 years? Yeah, 2005. It was 2005. But... Oh, good Lord. Hold on a second. I need to send this to somebody. Well then. Fading into dust right now, turning to paste. All right. What you mean? Goopy's saying he's old. That's all that Goopy's saying. Goopy's just saying that he's old. Okay. There's other things I had that I wanted to talk about. What the heck is this? Hold on a second. Oh, I see. Okay. Ding donk, what's the deal, Sensor? What's the ding donk? Focus. Look, Mom, man survived dial-up and a screw you. It's only by Marin. What? I'm not dropping any frames, and I'm in the green. The buffers? Wait, are we buffering? We shouldn't be buffering. There's no reason to be buffering. I have 0.0 dropped frames with exactly 0 frames dropped. I am in the green. I think it's Twitch. I'm literally losing nothing. I am losing nothing. Is it the Europeans? Are the Europeans the one having problems? Some of us lived through pre-dial-up. Listen. Bless you, sir. Bless you. But, what the heck? Oh my. Save that for later. But, ooh. Darn it, I'm getting distracted again. But, chat, there was another thing I found out today. You know how I mentioned the one of my favorite light novels was getting an anime this season? This summer? I did not know when it was supposed to come out. But this morning, Lord of Mysteries, sometimes it's Lord of the Mysteries or Lord of Mysteries. Apparently it's been out for a couple weeks now. So I believe the 3rd episode comes out this week. I'm pretty sure. But I have found out this morning, yeah, it's Klein Moretti. But I found this morning, apparently solo level fans are fucking pissed. For some, I would say some reason, but the reason is because they're mad that it's good. They're mad that it's good and World is created. I haven't got to see the anime yet, and I only found out this morning that it was already out. So guess what we're doing tonight, motherfuckers? We're gonna watch those at least 2 episodes later tonight in the Discord because I want to fucking see them. Why does Twitch only do it by Marin? I don't know. I'm well, now I'm down to 3 bars, but again, I'm not dropping any frames. It was still green. I love your hair colors. Well, thank you, Maestro. How are you doing? What trouble are you getting into? Twisby keeping all the Marin frames from the buffering chatters? Listen, I can't do anything about it. I can't do nothing about it. But, hold on a second. Is keeping all the Marin frames and buffering chatters chilling with my dog? Hell yeah. So the thing is, one thing I want to do though is there is a trailer that came out 3 days ago that I have not got to see. Wait, episode 1, the mysteries per minute is unreal. Fucking Crunchyroll, dude. Fucking Crunchyroll. When the MC is just as confused by the plot of his own series as much as the viewer, correct. Correct, that is the plot to Lord of Mysteries. Yes, guys, when you see this and you don't understand it, that is totally fine. That is not a bad sign. It means it's a mystery show. Please understand that. Oh my God, are they finally getting back to the core of what mystery shows are supposed to be like? All right, chat. I really want to watch this, so we're going to go ahead and jump to that. And let me make sure that's not just ended, but I'm going to go ahead and pause it. And then we'll do... Oh, I forgot to click. There we go. There's our boy. There's our boy. All right. My Discord profile is Klein and my wallpaper is one scene from Lord of Mysteries. Oh. All right. So this is apparently a trailer of some kind that came out 3 days ago. And... Oh, hold on. I just realized the fucking... I don't know why it does this. Okay, there we go. The edges are fixed. I need to turn it up on my end a little bit. Oh, that's right. It's also a Chinese anime. So it's Chinese language, English subbed. It's not Japanese, it's Chinese. Ooh. Oh, this is the isekai moment. Okay. This is the isekai moment. Ooh. The funny thing too is this show had a manga, or well, before it had a manga, and the manga was not very good. It was not very stylized. It was very generic. So seeing this, oh my God, I'm trying not to fawn. I'm trying not to fawn so hard. Okay. What's funny is too is like the transmigrated part is like a dozen chapters into the story, you fucking completely forget that it happened. Because he just integrates himself almost perfectly. Wait. The Fool? Is that the whole episode right there? Is that the whole episode? Try now. Yeah, that's the whole episode, but it's not... It doesn't seem to play. Blocked in your area? What? How dare. Oh well. Oh well. That's all right. That's all right. All right, let me bring the music back. The old manhwa's better than the remake, I guarantee it. Huh? There wasn't an old manhwa. Well, that's the one I'm talking about. It was very generic. I don't think there was another one. Let me see. Lord of the Mysteries. Manhwa. Novel page. Lord of the Mysteries manga. Let's see, is this the one? Chapters. Click read? Okay, yeah, this is the one that I remember. I think? I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is the one that I remember. It's comparative to what I've seen manhwa do, it's not very good. It's not very good. And didn't it, I could have swore it got dropped. I could have swore it got dropped. Like, yeah, I was gonna say, okay, yeah, there's only 11 chapters. Yeah. You had started making a remake? Oh, interesting. The thing I mentioned, yeah, apparently, apparently people are review bombing it. Solo leveling fans are review bombing it because they're mad it's good. English dub for us filthy heathens. Ugh. I don't think I care for the English dub. The old man was better than the remake, I guarantee. Oh. Yeah, I don't think I even want to see the remake then. Region cockblocked. It's okay. I'll find a way after stream today and we'll be able to watch it. Been some good years for mystery animes. The thing is, Lord of Mysteries is essentially like an eldritch story. It's danhua. It's general mystery, mystical. And it seems like they're really doing like, what's the word? The atmosphere. The atmosphere, baby. I haven't had atmosphere like that since I watched fucking Shiki, dude. Solo... What? Solo blurs? What is that? Had a big manga phase back in the day the breaker was peak. Would love having physical copies of Helper and a show like Mysteries. Helper was a webtoons too. Oh. I read a lot of manhwa. I read a lot of manhwa. It's really bad. Y'all know the meme of like the people that like will have like a song playing on one monitor, will have like a video playing on another, and will be like scrolling their phone? That's me. I scroll my phone reading manhwa while listening to a video on one monitor and having friend streams on the other. Usually the friend streams are muted. But I like to make sure I have at least 2 of them open, typically. I'm in Switch, can't keep its shit together. I can't watch it, sadly. It just keeps buffering. No, Ordain! We're losing our boy. Chat, try shaking Ordain. Maybe that'll fix it. Manhwa. I need to consume 5 forms of media at the same time to avoid the creation of any form of thoughts. The voices! Listen, it's fine. It's here's something that says it's a remake. Okay, hold on. I want to see what this looks like. 6 days ago. Okay, let's go to chapter 1, English, Crimson. Oh. Why did it load me in the middle of like section 1? What the fuck? Okay, this. And then I saw the person. I was like, this is. Oh my God, what the fuck is that? Why did they take a Lovecraft story and turn it partially anime? Alita Battle Angel? What the fuck? Oh no. Oh no. It's kind of interesting though. It's very painterly. Hermes language. Okay, it seems interesting in like its own little way. Ooh, the eyes. My goodness. My goodness. Okay. That's something to check out later. I did not know there was a remake. Cthulhu with Yowie hands? What? What? Also, chat, I got curious. So last week we watched a bunch of, or a couple of videos from the Best Ever Food Review channel in Afghanistan. And typically it looks like they update at least once a week. The last update was the last video that we watched, and it was 11 days ago. They only have a Facebook? Really? Ugh. Okay, he posted 4 hours ago. He's alive, or someone is, at least to update their social media. But it's definitely jumping around on like clips that it's taking from different videos. Because like in 2 days, Hong Kong, Africa's most extreme diet, Japan's most bizarre food, world's worst food country. Wait, what country is this? Sheep's head on noodles served with a side of horse meat, beshbamak. What flag is turquoise and yellow and has a sun in the center of it? If I keep going, I'm sure he'll say it. Right? Right? I mean, the food actually still looks fucking awesome. Kazakhstan! Okay, it's Kazakhstan. Hi, Dandy. Listen, if there's any country I could say that has, like, maybe the worst food in the world, in comparison to other countries and other dishes I've seen people capable of making with their local, like, foods, it's white Americans. It's fucking white America, dude. Unless you're making, like, dishes from, like, wherever your family is from, there's nothing. There's nothing, dude. It's just meat with salt and pepper at that point. Me when gated community suburbia food. When IKEA had a controversy about apparently using horse meat. Yeah. Burger King actually was proven to be using horse meat, but it turned out it was their meat provider cheaping out on their meats and mixing horse meat into their orders. Burger King actually did not know. Did somebody say aspic? 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 So much raw Velveeta. I'm not gonna lie. I'm glad you brought up Velveeta. I almost made a post yesterday because I was gonna make one of those goofy posts where it's like what is it? Like this channel's the Velveeta hater channel. You're not allowed to like Velveeta around here or some shit like that, where it's like just one of those like goofy ass posts. Because Velveeta is not food, kids. Velveeta is not food. It's macroplastics trying to worm its way into your digestive system and brain. There's an anime that came out called My Nagra. I think you would like it. Okay, hold on. What is that? My Nagra anime. Oh, I followed the manga. I followed the manga of this one. This one's really cool. He gets isekai'd into a what is essentially a version or kind of mix of his favorite like real-time strategy game. But he's the ruler of the evil country. I like the character designs in that manga. There's another one that's kind of similar. but I can't remember what it's called. It's something like it's a woman who gets isekai'd, becomes the insect queen of an evil insect species that's also technically from like a another like RTS type game. It's already ended. They did the thing where it's like where she like settles on doing like world domination with her hive of bugs. And then they were just like, and that's where the series ends. She's decided on world domination. The end. Huh? Huh? What? It was like, I think it was only like something like 20 chapters too. The Spider Queen got dropped. I think that's probably why they did it then. That's probably the way they did it. Was that it wasn't as popular as they wanted, so they just like wrote an ending and was like fade to blackness. Yeah, I wanted to see the domination part too because she was like they were having like unit progressions. They had this really cool like arachnid knight lady. Falls out of the ceiling. Then Chewsday, isn't it? Hi, Kerbelos. Chewsday, isn't it? It gets later generic, but the King of the Apocalypse slaps real hard now and then. The twins getting traumatized every X chapters is an insane move. It's very interesting. I need to double check because my app has been bugging out recently. And sometimes it doesn't tell me when there's a new chapter. I have to go like find the one I want to read, click it, and see if there's a new chapter. And only when I click it will it tell me that's like, here's the red ones that you haven't read yet. Oh, okay, cool. Click. Waiting on Overlord to come back? I liked Overlord. I like Overlord. Latency issues, or is that just me? Well, I did drop a couple frames, but I only dropped 84 frames. Ordained was having the same problem. The thing is, though, with like isekais, a lot of these are isekais. Some of these that I like, though, are that like the people get isekai'd and they see like they borderline just accept it. They're like, okay, I'm gonna do what I gotta do to survive here and live here and enjoy it. It's way better than like generic isekais of like, we summoned a hero and their ultimate goal is to go home. Why? You got isekai'd to another world. With all of your knowledge from that world, you get what is essentially superpowers. And again, you have to go fight like what is a seemingly impossible enemy. And then your goal is to just go back to the mundane world that you knew? I can't believe Maren keeps me out of the list. The list! Do you want to be on the list, Sunstar? Do you want to be on the list? I will make a list for you. Here, let me... I'll get the notepad. I'll get the notepad. I got my notepad here, chat. Here, have this. Okay. Well, time to go home to my boring desk job. Time to go back to high school. Or some shit like that. Although there was that one anime that was literally that, where like teenagers got teleported away and became heroes in different worlds. And then they came back and they started like a university that was just all the kids that like completed their mission in the other world came back and still had their powers. Y'all remember that anime, right? I'm not the only one that remembers that, right? It was a harem anime and it was very sexy, but it had really good action scenes. The reason he wanted to come back was because he missed Sega. Ah, I forgot about that. I forgot about that. Sunstar, do you want to go on a list? I will put you on a list. I can think of a perfect list for you. Would you like me to add you to the list? Here from another world, he came back with some of his powers. Yeah, but didn't everybody think he was crazy at the beginning? Harem X-Men Isekai? Kind of? Kind of? I couldn't get into it because I couldn't make it through the beginning because it felt way too cringy. But I've heard some people really like it. She's putting us on the list? I'm asking Sunstar if Sunstar wants to go on the list. Somewhere like the Warhammer 40k to make them want to go back? Maybe? Maybe. Not the worst idea. Not the worst idea. World Conquest starts with the civilization of ruin. Okay, that's the English title of this one. Yeah, good manga. Good manga. I'm kind of excited to see where they go with it in the anime. Hold on, I'm looking at the pictures. It is very weird though. It was always weird to me, the outfit that they gave the main character. The very like Zelda femboy outfits. It's cute. It's funny. Oh, they could have done better with the twin. What the hell is that design? She's supposed to have like a massive burn scar, and instead it just looks like part of her body is tan. Lame. Lame. Take it back to the drawing board. Zelda Finboy, what now? You know the one where he dresses up to go into the Garuda village? That's what his outfit looks like, except it's black instead of green. To make anyone question their sexuality? True. I'm being listed? Okay, Sunstar wants to go on the list. Best mod list. Number 1, Sunstar. Number 2, Carrie. Number 3, there are no other mods. Sorry, the rest of y'all don't exist. The rest of y'all don't exist. It's those two and those two only. Okay. King of the Apocalypse. I agree. Weak shit. King of the Apocalypse. What? All right. Anyway, bit over. I actually wrote that down. I wrote that down on the notebook for shits and giggles. Directly under the point where I finished the antechamber and wrote down my clues when I was playing Blueprints on my own. Anyway, let's go ahead and put you right back where you belong, notebook, until next time I need you. The scar's being played down. Oh, very much so. Very much so. Hell yeah. War pigs, baby. Link has 2 modes, Finboy and Warrior of Hyrule, and they're both very much the same. Although, is it bad that every time I think of Link, I think of that one like goofily animated video where the only time he ever talks is just hi 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 hi. It always fucking gets me. It always gets me. Did you see the final performance the other night? Huh? No, I don't really follow like concerts and stuff, so no. Next time when we hire more mods. At some point, we may need to get more mods. Who knows? Black Sabbath's last concert? No, I didn't see it. I did not realize that they were having a last concert. I thought that was forever ago. I suck at mod stuff. What do you mean? You're the one who's like preemptively set up basically like everything that I've set down for the rules. That's the thing, is there's not a lot of modding to do because instead of waiting for shit to happen, we just fucking essentially have all of the stuff like preset and it's basically auto-modded away. The last enough, it was fucking beautiful, but it made me cry. David got booed, deserved. Surviving to this century itself is a miracle. True, that man is falling apart. Just pull someone out of the pit? No. They're staying in the pit until I'm using their pieces. Nah. I'm not sure who the next mod would be right now. The thing is, I don't feel like we'd need one, so I don't really feel like I could make a judgment. Yeah, the Flash Pit. You know, the place where I keep all the extra bits, bobs, and pieces from the show. The aftermath that we used to sometimes make more cast and crew. AI could take my job, can't believe it. That's not AI. That's just automation. Those fumes don't seem to run out for Ozzy. I completely disagree. Have you seen that man? Oh God, what was it? They had a reality TV show at one point. I forget what it was called. But it was Maud merry-go-round. I could never. She's so busy. Doing nothing. Sheep go round from Maud 2026. Oh my god. Good lord. The one with his family 20 years ago? It was way more closer than 20 years ago. It was way closer than 20 years ago. It was in like the 2010s. Sorry, I just looked back at the best ever food review and realized that there's a picture here of them cutting a moray eel open. But the title to it is Eating Japan's Most Dangerous Fish, parentheses, Armageddon level diarrhea. Okay then. Okay then. Oblivion dialogue meme on Ozzy losing track of his beer. Of course he lost track of his beer. He'd lose track of his shoes if he wasn't wearing them. The ghost hunting one with his son? What? Was his son a ghost hunter? Oh no. I hate that. No, they had a thing where there was like, I think it was actually following his wife most of the time. But any of the episodes where Ozzy was there, eating every lobster in Asia. What does that mean? That's a crawfish. That's not a lobster, that's a crawfish. How dare you, sir? How dare you, sir? Extreme Muslim food in Morocco. I can't believe they allow this. It just looks like jerky, my dude. Clip Ozzy where he's asking if he's sober now and he responds in complete gibberish. I do know that there was a point where, like, I think it was on The View when Ozzy, like, shows up to bring flowers to his wife. But it was really, seeing him, like, he hobbled onto the stage and they played, oh God, what, they played one of the more popular riffs. Was it the instrumental intro to Iron Man, I think is what they played. I can't remember for sure. Crawfish correctly. I'm from the South, baby. I'm from the South. It's crawfish. Crawdads. Ain't no crayfish here. Ain't no crayfish here. Talk about lobster. I find it so funny because Brazil and France almost started a war because France was stealing lobster in the Brazilian waters. Fuckers. Fuckers. Wait, they had Canada. Why the fuck would they steal lobsters from Brazil when they could get it from Canada? Why do I keep finding Southern VTubers I enjoy watching? Because we're fantastic. Listen, when the Southern VTubers aren't corrupted by Southern politics, we're awesome. Best entertainers, baby. Best entertainers, and don't you fucking forget it. Hold on, sorry, I had to clean my glasses. They wanted to steal my lobster. Time to put him down! Get the fucking guns! Anyway. Stealing lobsters? Lobsters. Not my lobsters. Not the lobsters. Listen, it's better than last night when I was listening to a video that had fucking Sea Dog VA in it. And he couldn't say lobster roll. He kept saying robster roll. And fucking Chris was making fun of him the whole time. But... oh, I'm going to butcher how you say this. Huge Muslim food, the culture China is destroying. Chat, do we want to watch that? Do we want to watch that today? I butchered a 1,000-pound camel in Kazakhstan. Oh. Oh my. Fuck it, we ball. Fucking Jesus. Listen, it's fine. It's fine. Wait, X-Men is trending. Why is X-Men trending? What the fuck is that, dude? Oh. Oh, it's a bunch of people making fucking jokes. Making fucking jokes on Cyclops' fucking visor. Really? That's what this is? The X-Men are real now? I fucking wish, dude. I fucking wish. But yeah, it looks like people are kind of just memeing on Cyclops. Even making fun of Cyclops because fucking Logan and Jean are in Marvel Rivals. Isn't he blind? No, he can see. It's just that his eyes constantly shoot the lasers and he sees everything in red. Wait, did you not know that? X-Men are real? Can I date Magma then? Good luck. Good luck. Wait, what the fuck? Oh, okay. I see what they're going on about here. Who the fuck is this? Schwarzschild? First appearance X-Men 1? Who the fuck is this? Ability to mentally manipulate and control gravitational fields? Oh. I thought he just looked like a hardcore Superman. Weird. Weird. Not too familiar with much of 80s superhero knowledge, Marvel or DC. Okay, that makes sense. Hyper, thank you for doing your season pass. I got my RAM working. Now I don't have... Now I don't how also happy 23 months goober. Huh? Huh? Nothing beyond tip of the iceberg, at least. That makes sense. You're thinking Geordi the Forge in Star Trek? Oh, gotcha. Gotcha. The Forge is the one that has the visor in Star Trek, right? Wait, what the fuck is this? Oh, flashback. Okay, I was gonna say, this better not be a story right now. It's not. It's not. Okay. I'm scrolling through the X-Men section. Why did I just find Rouge the Bat? Why did I just find a post about Rouge the Bat in a thing where it's X-Men trending? Oh, wow, buddy. It's so impressive that you had to make AI videos in order to prove your point on twitter.com. Wow, that's crazy, dude. This totally proves your point. Absolutely, totally. Fucking insane. Also, why is this, again, under the X-Men thing? I don't understand why this is under the X-Men part. Weird. Very weird. X-rated content, maybe? No. No. It was some dude trying to be Islamophobic by, quote, showing off child marriages. And they were all AI generated, like obviously AI generated. That fireplace, that actually a fireplace, or one of the TV screen fireplaces people have. They're not usually, what you're thinking of is they're not usually TV screens. They're more like electric heaters that look like a fireplace. A very flat fireplace, mind you. On Twitter? No. No way. Do you think people would do that? Go on Twitter and lie? Hi, dipshitty. How are you doing? What trouble are you getting into? Hi, Widowmaker. Thank you for the 5-stream streak. But I was looking to see if there was Princess Catherine. Who is the fuck is Princess Catherine? Hello? Oh. Okay. Why are the Brits so weird about royalty? Explain, British people. I know there's some of you in here. Explain yourselves. You think people would do that? Just go on the internet and be terrible people? Racism on my racism sites? God damn it. God damn it. Bats are known to be vampire species. Then in X-Men, we have Rogue, who not only has the name Rogue, but in Portuguese, her name is Vampira. I mean, Jubilee does get turned into a vampire at one point, and there's like a whole arc of like all of the X-Men trying to help her understand that just being a vampire doesn't make her a monster. It's very cute. It's very cute. British talk? I have no idea. Sunstar? Go on. Explain, Sunstar. The French is trending. Oh God, what fucking day is it? Guitar Hero's trending. Jesus, I'm getting whiplash over here. Epstein's trending. I think I know why Epstein's trending. I don't think I need to go look at that. That's probably the same reason as it was yesterday. Let's see. Why is the French trending? Oh, again, Princess Catherine shows up because apparently they did a state visit to France earlier today. Pop-up Hoseki no Kuni shop at the Louvre Museum. The French people shall never forget the sacrifices British people made to protect Europe and the world during the 2 world wars. Okay, Macron. Okay. I guess. I suppose. I guess. What is the impression of the British royal family? Guitar Hero? Don't try to distract Sunstar. I'm asking you, why are you obsessed with the royalty? Plays carnival songs in Guitar Hero? Can you do that in Guitar Hero? I could probably play like some of the songs that I have on the playlist. What the fuck? Okay, it's kind of all over the place, but it seems to mostly be about this like British state visit. Which again, it's so weird. It's so fucking weird seeing like all of these like government bodies like fucking Macron, and anytime I see like British royalty go somewhere and they're greeted by the government officials as if they are government officials is stupid. Oh, what is this? Swiss city of, oh, I'm going to butcher this. Porrentruy, near the border with France, has banned French citizens from visiting the city's swimming pools. The decision was made after complaints about rude behavior and harassment from the young French citizens. Okay, that's actually kind of funny. That's actually really funny. Get fucked, French. I can't. Oh, I'm trying to click allow on that. I was trying to click allow. I was trying to click allow and I didn't want to accidentally click ban. I did accidentally time out Corvo. Oh shit. I did accidentally time out Corvo. Okay, I untimed out Corvo. There we go. That's better. That's better. I read that yesterday and had a good chuckle. Have like 2 revolts recently. Yeah. Plays carnival songs. They're on the money. They're on the money. What do you mean they're on the money? 1984. What the? No, it just moved when I tried to click allow and I clicked the 10-minute timeout. I'm sorry. I have the little buttons next to the names. Getting banned from the country because your people are dicks in the pool? True. The faces of the royal people are on the money? Old royal people? Sunstar, and I like money? Oh my god. Old royal people? None of those people are still alive. What are you on about? Millionaire meat pie? Jesus. Jesus. All right, chat. We have 4 minutes. We need to figure out, is that a pangolin? Please tell me he's not going to eat that pangolin. Firing timeouts into the crowd. Don't be fooled. Just get the gun out. Penguins. No, not the penguins. Chuck isn't on money yet. Chuck. Oh, Charles. Wait, why do you say yet? They don't put recent, they don't really put, do they? I don't think they really put current monarchs on the money. Although the previous monarch was also, isn't she the longest running, longest living, longest serving monarch? Wasn't she? Hold on, let me double check. I don't know if it's in the world. Longest list of longest reigning monarchs. Okay. Oh, she's the second. Louis the 14th is the longest. Yeah. Queen Elizabeth II ruled for 70 years. Louis the 14th ruled for 72 years. It's pretty good. It's pretty good, honestly. The next one after that is Thailand and Liechtenstein. And then followed immediately by Palenque, aka where Mexico used to be. Let me see, hold on, what was this? A Mayan ruler who ruled for over 60 years. 68 years. Nice. Nice. There are monies with the king on it, but we also keep the queen monies. Makes sense. Says it won't be long until we need a new royal monies. So who knows? What? New royal monies? 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 Money dollars? How free they are. There are more restrictions in the most strict European country. Correct. Correct, Prang. But, chat, we need to figure out what country we're going to do for this. So we have Kazakhstan. We have... Actually, hold on. What are some of the countries that we listed before that we haven't done? We've looked at Iran. Ooh, do we see if he has on any videos on Iraq? Do we see if we can find food on Iraq? Because we are looking for cultures and foods of countries that a certain demographic does not like. Oh, we could do Egypt. We can see if we find some Egypt. The thing is some of these aren't like crazy well organized. Some of them, hey, there's Lebanon. I found Lebanon. I found Syria. Oh, this is the Syrian refugee camps in Lebanon. Oh, that's a sheep's head. Mongolia. Mongolia isn't really on that list too specifically. We're probably going to work our way down in terms of like countries they dislike. Sorry, I'm trying to find words. I'm trying to find words on stream so I can have it ready. Load, damn you. Okay. Are we talking about the Middle East? It could be Middle East. It could be South America, Central America. Venezuela would be one that we could do if I could find any. Oh, here's Vietnam. Wait a second. Oh, okay. There's one in Vietnam, but then the rest is Laos. Weird. Live crab salad. Ooh. Saudi Arabia and UAE are super developed. True. It's not about them being developed or not developed in this case. They don't have a new episode or anything for their Afghanistan visit, so I'm trying to... Faroe Islands. What kind of pig is that? Oh my god. Just gonna keep scrolling past that one. All right. Let me get the stream down for y'all. And I will see what other countries I can find. The worldo. And then we will see what we can find. Nepal. Oh wow, he did a lot of videos on Nepal. Okay. They eat them as health remedies? Wait, which part? The British ate what? Oh, hold on. I missed it. Scroll up. Mummies? Oh, were you talking about the mummies? You talking about when they ate mummies? I'd eat a mummy if I was given a chance, not gonna lie. I wouldn't do anything ethically dubious to get it, but given the chance, given the chance, I can't say I wouldn't, but wow, we're back in China. I could have swore I scrolled past another section that was a bunch of China videos in a row. Indonesia. Oh. Oh no. Where is this? Medan street food tour in Indonesia. Gobi Desert. There's, oh, I found Mongolia. Oh, interesting. Okay. Chat, do we just want to pick a country and we can just look up that country? Do we want to go with like Venezuela? Do we want to try Iraq? What is that? Is that a butt? Is that a butt sticking out of a trash can? Oh my God. Or just my internet? Other people are having the problem, but like, I'm not dropping frames or anything. Mummies don't end up on a plate without ethics as a side dish. True. And there's probably never going to be an opportunity to eat a mummy anyway. And the thing too is it would have to be palatable. I feel like it would have to be palatable in some way. Vietnam, Pakistani mountains. American Eats, Pakistan from street food to strange food. An hour and a half full documentary. Ooh. Oh. Do we want to do Pakistan? Pakistan? Pakistan street food at night. Vegans won't survive here. What the fuck? I realized the hack for this situation. I got the Twitter streams open. You dork. That's one way to do it. As long as I see food. Oh, we'll see food. Chat, are there any preferences for countries? India mega street food factories. Uzbekistan. Egypt. Okay, I found Egypt. Do we want to do Egypt? Oh, wow, there's a lot. Okay, there's a lot. Egypt food tour, worst place to shoot in Africa. Okay. Oh, that's only 5 minutes. Okay, so... Nightmare Egypt food tour. Police shut us down. Okay, this will be interesting. Here, I'm gonna get a bunch of the Egypt ones. Oh, wait, they have them all together. So, hold on, let me do some quick math. Okay. So yeah, it looks like they don't do this that often, but they have ones that are like all of their videos put together. Okay, we'll do that. Nope, pause. Okay. Y'all failed at level 3. Who are you? Serbia. Ooh, maybe someday we could do Serbia. I can't believe you've done this. I can't believe you've done this. Get Egypt. Oh my God. All right. All right, chat. Welcome to Egypt. Welcome to Cairo. I'm pretty sure this is Cairo.
We just got done with the police. What they told us is that the footage that we shot wasn't beautiful, it wasn't pretty enough, it didn't meet their standard.
Huh?
They told us to delete it. Suddenly these guys are documentary filmmakers. I don't get it.
Yeah. partition the blame Twitch on this loss. I think it is Twitch. I feel like it's Twitch because I literally
a country
here.
famous for its history.
Here. We're even. I still haven't lost any more than 81 frames. And those 81 frames are so little of the time, it is back at 0.0% of the stream.
The River Nile, the vast Sahara Desert, and its ancient pyramids.
Why?
It's also a country I'll never return to again.
We're trying to keep a low profile.
And soon, you'll know why you shouldn't go either.
Keep rolling, but be less obvious.
There's a very dark, very real side
Hold
to
on,
this
I'm looking to see if I'm
country
downloading
travel
something,
shows
but-
and travel hosts are willing to expose. Well, let me back up and zoom out for a second. Egypt is one of Africa's 54 countries. Yes, Egypt is in Africa, and Egyptians are Africans.
Why the-
But many also consider them Middle Eastern. The language, Arabic. The main
Okay.
religion is Islam, which
Okay.
becomes immediately apparent as you hear calls for prayer.
I was gonna say it feels weird to be like, yeah, I knew that. So why are you saying it like I'm not like I didn't know that? Twitch can't hear Baird's beauty. That's why the frames are low. I didn't know that. What do you mean you didn't know that, Corvo? Hold on. Here's Egypt. Egypt, anyone? Points the regular American? Oh no. Oh no. I thought Egypt was like one of the easiest places on the map to notice because it's literally the connecting country between Africa and the Middle East. Christ, dude. It's probably also one of like the few countries that we actually talk about their ancient history in when you have like primary education in the US. I know geography. I'm sure you do, Corvo. But it's very funny. That's really fucking funny. Come on, full screen. There we go.
Blaring from surrounding mosque speakers.
Jesus, the
More than
roads.
95% of the country is dry, arid desert,
Yeah.
which means the Nile is a vital lifeline to this country of 100 million.
It always has been.
Cairo is one
Emphasis
of the
on
biggest
always.
cities in Africa, with a population of over 10 million. After we landed in Cairo,
It does get kind of crazy because technically in prehistory we found out that the majority of Egypt at one point, southern
soon
Egypt,
after
was also a
arriving in the
lake.
country and pulling up at our hotel, our bags were x-rayed, then opened, then searched. Then the
Jesus,
police came.
dude.
From around 4:30 a.m. to 10 a.m. We were
Why?
outside the lobby in the cold, and more police coming, asking us all types of questions, treating us like criminals, suspecting us of something, but I don't know what.
We
Espionage?
were interrogated by authorities wondering who we are and what we're doing
Yes,
here.
Egypt was.
In the end, they confiscated our lights, hard drives, batteries, and cameras.
What the fuck?
What I couldn't figure out then was, what were these guys so paranoid about? And then I read about Egypt's revolution.
The Arab Spring spreads to Egypt with a day of rage.
demanded the resignation of then President Hosni Mubarak.
They were scenes that gripped the world's
Okay.
attention.
In December 2010, this so-called Democratic Republic faced mass demonstrations. The people were challenging authorities.
So-called?
over poverty,
Okay, now I'm curious.
corruption,
I don't know
and
too much about this
political
part of Egypt's history.
Many of these protests were held in Cairo in the city center, incredibly close to the hotel where they just confiscated.
That's a good question. Let's see. When was this? 3 years ago. It's 3 years old. So just like barely post-COVID.
Our gear.
Doesn't like Baron
Over a
Sap
period of
specifically, so
weeks,
now more Baron for me today.
demonstrations reached climactic
No!
and tragic head
Why
on
is
January
everybody's fucking
25th.
shitting the bed?
On that date, the people made their voices heard.
What the fuck?
By demanding
I have
President
no
Mubarak
issues
to
on my
stand
end.
down. The Mubarak regime responded with violence. In the end, he did step down, but future leaders never forgot the impact
God.
and power. the
It's
people
a
had.
red flag when you have a picture that big of yourself
Now,
in
even
a
years
chamber of
later,
government.
There's a paranoia that envelops
Listen,
the
if you
city,
have a mansion,
especially
sure,
leading
fine.
up to January 25th.
Why not?
We landed here on January 16th.
Wait.
25th. There's a paranoia that envelops the city, especially leading up to January 25th. We landed here on January 16th.
I regret this immediately.
Pigeons!
Oh, I just had a good idea.
without cameras.
Come take a look at this beauty.
My team and I have decided to shoot this series using iPhones.
Not bad.
Still, our problem.
Oh yeah, this is what they were talking about in the Afghanistan.
They've gone through the shots on my phone. We don't know what's gonna happen next.
Yeah, this is the one. This is what they were talking about in Afghanistan, where they had to, when like all their shit was taken.
Cairo's overzealous, paranoid police are on top of us.
They don't even wear uniforms.
Stopping us, asking us to delete shots they don't find beautiful.
This guy behind me, he could be police. But probably not.
In this series, you're gonna witness
I don't even know if my
the
watch streak is updated. It should if you've been here.
Of what it's really like to be a
It's not about whether the
in
stream's
Africa's
buffering or
worst
not
country
for
shooting.
your watch streak, so you don't got to worry about that.
Along the way,
Also,
we're
hold on.
watching our backs and ducking into alleyways. All to
Puppy.
capture the most delicious,
Oh my gosh.
unique food flavors you'll find anywhere.
I was not expecting this.
From bustling Cairo,
This place is
Ooh.
wild, it's mad, it's very busy. Sorry, am I in your way?
You know what?
See?
This may be a
See
terrible
what I'm saying?
mistake because I should not be spending any more money on like major food or major dishes right now because I'm going to get a haircut on Saturday and that's going to be
When you're
expensive.
here, you need to watch your back and your friend's back.
to the center of the Sahara Desert, far.
It's
far
entirely
from
Twitch side because it didn't tell me mine updated until I checked the point count.
Really interesting, like, when
Oh.
everyone's quiet,
What did you say? Twitch buffered again.
real silent.
Fuck. Fuck.
You'll see the food,
They're eating about one sheep every 2 weeks. That's like 25 a year. That's a lot.
but you'll also
25
see
sheep a
the
year.
people, kind locals, completely unlike the boorish authorities who run this place.
This is the boss of the camel, brother from another mother.
Yes, again.
I came to
A
Egypt to
country is not
introduce
its
an audience of
government.
Over 8 million to this country's heartwarming cuisine and friendly locals.
Is America a beautiful
Instead, I
country?
have no choice but to
Absolutely.
be honest and transparent.
Laws
Are
here
Americans-
unclear. People just kind of do what they want.
Certain American demographics really
In this
great.
4-video series,
Yeah.
you will see food.
Are people eating this?
Does the government try to make everybody just as fucking intolerable and annoying as they are? Also, yes.
It all starts here.
Giza. Oh god, chat. How many of you know the conspiracy theories about the fucking pyramids of Giza?
As the first
I wanna
rays
know
of
what the
light
craziest
pierce through the
conspiracy theory
trees
you've
of
ever
old
heard
dust
of the
cake
pyramids of
buildings
Giza
Cairo,
are.
The small window of peace gradually fades away, replaced by the hustle
The
and bustle of
sandblasted
city life.
apartments. Which one? The Great Pyramids.
Cars, motorbikes, bicycles, and the occasional horse or donkey populate the
Doesn't
streets.
matter which one of the three. Doesn't matter which one of the
Crowds are
three.
massive and move
Any of
like
them, all of
schools
them.
fish with a beautiful chaos
That man
like
just
no
stepped off
place
a
I've
moving
seen
bus.
before.
That bus
Let me
did
be
not
clear.
stop.
I like this city. It has character. On camera,
Jeff shits
it
on my
looks
phone.
amazing.
What the fuck,
However,
dude?
I don't like and I don't respect the people who run it. Day one, location
Rightfully
one.
so.
Our conniving and mostly useless local producer has brought us here. A small street side eatery on a
Oh,
quiet
right.
lane. Low traffic means a lower chance of suspicious police or quickly forming mobs. Sounds great, but what's on the menu?
Okay. Egg. Ooh, that egg looked awesome.
We are in the kitchen of our first
It's still before the iPad times? What?
Egypt eat for breakfast, but right now I'm getting a little bit of a hint. Behind me, he is frying French fries and he just made falafel too. The falafel here is made with fava beans and
Yeah.
then fried until they look like little hockey pucks. For now, I'm gonna go into the serving area.
Yeah,
where
there's
they have so much food
two
that
kinds
I'm
of
gonna
falafel if I
decide
remember
what
correctly.
we're gonna
One's
eat
chickpea
officially
and
for
one's
breakfast
fava
today.
beans, and I'm pretty sure
This
Egypt
is
and a couple
Saad Al
others
Fard,
use fava
a
beans.
restaurant named after its owner, Mr. Saad.
While many
specializes in
others
dishes that
use
fava
chickpeas.
beans. Fava beans are a common breakfast here in Cairo. With over 40
Those look
years
awesome.
of experience, Saad can mix and match flavors in over 50 ways.
Hello, sir. Good morning. He's really busy right now. Here
He
has
is
about 50
focused.
different dishes and tons of flavor
One of the weirdest ones I've heard
combinations.
is that
People come,
pyramids
they
are built
step up,
under
they
the
order,
sand.
And then he's kind of the main guy making it happen.
Define
Someone just ordered a
under the
chip sandwich.
sand.
Another chip sandwich? I should get
I
one
think
of
the
those.
weirdest ones that I've heard still are
So now
both
we
like
got busy.
a mix of like
Oh,
the
hey.
ancient aliens
We
type
connected
stuff.
After all. Oh my god, see, it just takes persistence. So right
What
now
was
he's gonna
that?
make me a chip sandwich. He's got the soft bread here. Puts in the
Chickpea
chips,
falafels?
some
Yeah, most
salt,
people know
and
the
this
chickpea
is a
falafels.
white
Fava ones
sauce.
aren't
I'm not
that
sure
common
what it is yet.
unless
Puts
you
in
have
some
like an
salad,
Egyptian
greens,
restaurant.
carrots, a little bit of
I've
cabbage
never
in there.
had fava bean
Can this be the plate?
falafel because I've never had the chance.
Yes. And he won't give it to me at all. I promise I'll pay.
As in dug a hole and built the pyramids there.
About putting a soft carbohydrate with a
It's the thing when it comes to like those fucking ancient alien conspiracies and like what is it? Ancient aliens, ancient mysteries. People are fucking stupid with like what they come up. They were like, yeah, I don't care that there was hundreds of thousands of people in the area at the time. There's no way they built those pyramids, even with all that manpower. Huh? How are the pyramids so flat? Water. How do they get the pyramids perfectly flat with perfectly flat foundation? Water. The answer is water. You want to get a perfectly flat surface? Flood an area and let the water even out. I think, oh God, it's almost like there's a river right next to them. Or do we want to talk about how they got all of the big blocks from 200 miles south where the major, what is it? Where the granite quarry, I can't think of the name of the granite quarry right now, was on the banks of the Nile River? How do you think they got them to the pyramids? The answer is boats. They put it on boats. We literally have a papyrus artifact that when translated was basically somebody's update on that them coming up the river on boats was on schedule. This is Turkish night tonight. Last dance with the dancers. Everyone's come dance with them and I can't dance, but it went well and dance them. Hell yeah, Widowmaker. Hope you had fun. Water, do not fuck with water. Water is one of the most necessary, but also most deadly forms of nature. They asked really big people to carry it, obviously. Yeah, there are people that think that giants built the pyramids for them. It's really stupid. And the closest thing people ever get is fucking those like AI conspiracy theorists on TikTok that use like an AI voice and then use AI videos to pretend like there was a giant that picked up a big rock. But then how did they build the top? How did they build the chambers? They started from the bottom and worked up, stupid. More than likely using ramps. As we learned in Texas, now water is very scary. Water's always been scary. The funny thing too is people are acting like this is a once in a lifetime travesty that happens in that region. I'd hate to tell you, shit like this happens on the Guadalupe River at least once every 10 years. It happened back in 2017. It was just in a different section of the river. The Guadalupe is one of the top 10 most deadly rivers in the US because of how often it floods its banks. Start from the bottom, work up. Yes. It's flooded in multiple areas in Texas every year. Correct. Correct. Some of the most deadly floods in US history have been from specifically the Guadalupe River. The Guadalupe. Why those bricks weren't sticking was working from the top down. Yeah, that's the problem. That's the problem.
Chips. I don't know if you guys were poor like me, but when I grew up, I would just make a potato chip sandwich with ketchup or with butter, and so it takes me back to those days.
Just a dude.
Most of the flavor is coming from.
I don't think I ever had a potato chip sandwich. My broke dish was always a peanut butter sandwich.
An Arabic condiment made from toasted ground whole sesame seeds, made into a paste. Here, you'll see it join most meals.
The tahini, it's salty, a bit of sweet sourness. I don't know.
I always forget tahini is sesame seed based.
It's soft, it's chewy.
I always think it's like milk or cream based for some reason. Top to bottom, just use a Gmod gravity gun to invert it. Yeah, they put the capstone up first and just held it up there for years.
All throughout the city of Cairo, and what it is, it's fava beans.
What happened at the river? It flooded on a section. Wait, hold on. Basically, it flooded on a section not notorious, filled to the brim with Texas summer camps. The death tolls come to about 100, if I remember correctly from what I've heard this morning. I keep thinking it's chickpeas. No, it's fava beans. Fava beans. Anyway. Oh, tahini, you think it's chickpeas? Okay, that makes sense. I think there is a dip that is... Oh, shit. Oh, fuck. Hold on. I clicked a number on my fucking... Here, we'll go here. This is when he's eating the chip sandwich.
Bread is excellent. It's soft. It's chewy. It's a great little treat.
Yes,
before you eat your actual
I believe
breakfast, which we're gonna do
27
next.
of them were children currently.
Aside from chip sandwiches, they have something called food. So food
Food.
is something that is eaten
There was a
commonly for breakfast here all
there's a
throughout
summer
the city
camp
of
called
Cairo,
Camp
and what
Mystic
it
down
is
there
is
that
olive
when I went to summer camp, I went to a summer camp down there that's also right on the river, and my sister was there. She left the day before, luckily, because their term had just ended.
Now in present day, they're a staple in Egypt.
Hold on. But Camp Mystic is another Christian summer camp further down the river from us. And I guess their cabins were much closer to the river. So when the initial surge came of about 22 additional feet added to the Guadalupe, it basically pushed their cabin away. It took their cabin with them. Yeah, you'll be seeing it all on Camp Mystic. Camp Mystic is a bougie rich kid summer camp. Here, let's see if we can actually look them up real quick. Camp Mystic. I'm totally misspelled that. I don't want the wiki page. Here it is. It's a girls' summer camp specifically. Can I get pictures? There's also a thing you'll find out about these summer camps is you'll see tribes here. Most of the summer camps here are kind of weird about appropriating Indian tribe names for like camper like competition. My summer camp did it. And I didn't know this Camp Mystic did it until just now. But yeah, it's weird, but it's really just to do like athletic competitions and stuff. But I wanted to see photos. Ah, fuck. Here, we'll do this. There's the Guadalupe. There's Camp Mystic. Camp Mystic is far nicer than the summer camp I went to. They don't do it with like malice, to be honest. So I don't know too much about Camp Mystic, but I can guess if they're similar to the summer camp I went to. All the cabins, of course, the river. It looks like they actually have their own dam here, which probably made it even worse for what was to happen when it flooded down. I'm curious though. Hold on a second. This is Cypress Creek. Where is this it? South Fork Guadalupe River. Okay. Yeah, so I think what it actually did then, if this was, the Guadalupe is a south flowing river. So it actually came from around here. Oh, y'all can't see the mouse. From the north to south along the Cypress River here where these trees are. But which cabin? I can only guess it was one of these two cabins. These two down here, like literally right on the water. Which one, stupid idea. Because it's even funnier because you can actually see where the floodplain is. The like average floodplain during a rainy season for the summer camp is like this. Hold on, turn on display capture so you can see my mouse. Can y'all see it? It's a little hard. It's this black speck moving around over here, circling over here. This ridge is one of the old fucking lines for a flood section. Fucking goofy, dude. Fucking goofy. Trying to look at the rest of the ridges. Since it is hill country, most of these are built on hills. I can actually show y'all in a second. My summer camp. Vista camps. This was where I went to summer camp. Okay, this is a picture taken from the winter, so it looks absolutely horrifying. There's the Guadalupe River for my summer camp. Now, this is the Vista camps, and it's plural because there is Rio Vista and Sierra Vista. This section on the left here is Rio Vista. It's the boys' camp. This section on the right is the girls' camp. That's Sierra Vista. These are the girls' cabins. This like really big one is their gymnasium. There's the horse ring. Tennis courts, extra concrete areas, baseball. That's the gymnasium for the boys. These are the closest cabins to the river. If y'all are new here, y'all are going to find out something about me. This is where I was when I went to summer camp. I was directly in... The entire time I went to summer camp, I was in these two cabins. Now, the difference between these cabins and Camp Mystic is you can't tell very easily, but these cabins are actually about 20 plus feet off the river. There's actually a cliff about 5-10 feet off the back of these cabins, and it dips. It dips really deep. But according to my sister, well, secondhand, from my sister to my mom to me, because I was trying to figure out what the fuck was happening at these camps, she said apparently the water was up to the girls' cabins, which is right here. Which means basically all of this was underwater. Hi, Fairbanks. The Scout organization still has the honor society that they called the Order of the Arrow. About summer camp, you get inducted during a ceremony. The members dress as Native Americans. Yeah, we did that here too. Let me see if I can find them. So you'll see these are the kids' buildings. This is the fort. This big white building is the fort. That's actually where the youngest kids go. The youngest age that can go to this camp is 5 years old. So you have essentially what equates to 4 cabins inside the fort over here. This is the mess hall. Everybody uses the mess hall. The food here was awesome. But if you look up here, there's paths that go up the hills and into the woods. Doesn't look like you can see the sign either. There's actually a big sign that says Vista Camps on the mountains. But because of the satellite angle, you can't see it. So I mentioned the tribe thing, right? There's actually circles that have been built, fire circles, out in the hills that they built to come have special meetings with your certain tribe at the summer camp. Hi, Celador. But yeah, this is the barn area, by the way. This is where they actually keep the horses and like take care of them and stuff. This is just where they bring them to interact with the campers because it's one of the activities you can do. Also, if you see any of the news, so this is the Guadalupe by my summer camp. If you go over here, this is one of the old entryways. It basically goes from its major river and pinches it into a tiny creek that then spans out again afterwards. If you see any of the images with like the main road, here it is. This is the section that you're probably seeing pictures of. This is the dam that if you see any of the pictures of what water looks like, it's going over a big section of the dam. And then this is the section that got washed out. All this right here was what got washed out in a large part of what you see in the pictures. But yeah, this is Ingram, Texas. It's literally like trying to find the section. Regardless, it's in Kerr County. It's basically like just north of Kerrville. But yeah, this is the major part of the section. Many of like this is another summer camp right here. There's one called Longhorn that's around here somewhere. But in general, this place is covered in like wildlife farms, summer camps. It's basically the summer camp capital of the US. I lost my own summer camp. Where did you go, camps? Where did you go, Vista? I think I'm too far. Over here. There we go. The thing too is, not just in the US, we actually had students, I say students, campers. We had campers that came all the way from like Germany, France. We had 2 kids from Germany one year. We had 1 kid from France. And I remember being a little weird teenager and being like, what do you mean he's from France? And he has a cool accent. And like everybody in my cabin, we were in one of the oldest cabins, like runs across camp to this other like little kid cabin. And we're like, where's the Frenchie? And he peeks up from the top bunk and just goes, oui. Like all of us just like, Oh god. You're a cool kid. I like you. And then we left. And that was pretty much it. That was pretty much how it went. Oh goodness. Cliffs, rivers, and children, the perfect combo. We never really had any incidents. I'm trying to think of any. You can't see it, but also like about... Okay, that's the boys' waterfront. That's the girls' waterfront. This is the canoe dock. It's called a canoe dock, but it's entirely concrete. It's basically a concrete platform. That's a putting green. This is also typically like, you can kind of see the holes. There's like what look like almost like craters. This is actually like a mini golf course. Right up here. For kids to come learn golf and stuff. But yeah, you go paddleboarding, canoeing, kayaking all over this summer camp. Over here, you can kind of see it right there. That is a greenhouse. It was a greenhouse, and during the season, it basically becomes like an animal pen to teach kids how to take care of animals. I did that every year I went. It was really fun. Oh, here it is. This is the chapel, because this was a Christian summer camp. This is the chapel. The closest thing you really get is like a required service on Sunday and like prayers at meals. I kind of just ignored the prayers at meals because the food was too fucking good. But yeah, this is the chapel that they use on Sundays. And then yeah, there's this road that I actually don't know what it goes to because we were never allowed to go down that. I have no idea what this is. Not a clue. But yeah, then there's all these trails into the mountains behind the camp. I like that you can even see fucking property lines here. That shit's crazy. That's crazy. All right. Anyway, back to Egypt. Bazant. My new name, Banana. Banana's aunt. Minnie Bear, and be like, bring us the Frenchman. Bring us the French boy. Now to Egypt camp. I wonder what Egypt summer camp is like.
In dishes like fool and falafel.
Ooh. Wait.
Fool, a soupy dish made
Oh?
with stewed fava beans, salt and pepper, corn oil, tahini, and chili sauce.
It kind of looks like refried beans in a way, but it probably tastes different because it has spices in there too.
Falafel, a bean cake made with fava beans.
Oh my god, I'm
spices,
sorry. I'm a
garlic,
little
and herbs.
obsessed.
Roll it into balls.
I also had to I have to give up on getting falafel here because the only place that sells falafel is like a Greek place, but it's run by a bunch of white people. And when I went there,
I mentioned French fries.
I got like their like chicken. I can't even call it shawarma. We'll go with shawarma, like chicken shawarma. And it was terrible. It was awful. Coco, hi baby.
As far as I know, it's not meant to be eaten with anything. I'm just gonna try it plain like this. Let's go for it.
Goddamn right. Look at the dude stare get you from the back. Pissed off.
And pretty airy too. Falafel's not always my favorite. Sometimes I find falafel can be really dry. But here, this is
It can be, yeah.
I've ever had. I think because they're using a different type of bean, it's much more.
Yeah,
airy
falafel can be dry
and light,
sometimes,
and it's
especially
not
in
just
some
like a
places
thick,
where they're not like making it right then and there.
The main reason I came here
Across the street from me, they're so good. I fucking love halal food, dude. Hold on a second. I'm gonna pause this real quick. I'm gonna let Coco out the door, and I'll be back in just a second. Okay. That's you reminded me. What's halal? Halal is basically in accordance with Islamic teachings, butchered in the right way, follows all of the rules and laws. The thing is, though, too, is it results in some of the most tender, delicious meat I've ever had in my fucking life. It's so good. It's so good. The funny thing, too, is you have Google. I mean, yeah, you can always look it up, but it's also like some push-ups. All right, we'll do push-ups in just a second. But the thing I was going to say is I got curious the other day because I wanted to look up what places in my city were halal. Of course, you get like the Indian places, the Mediterranean places, and Greek places, because that's basically all that's here. There's not really any other thing close to like Arabian food or anything or Middle Eastern food. But there was one place on the list that I was so surprised by Chat, can you guess what it was? I want to see if y'all can guess at all what it was. Has an entire chicken supply from a local halal provider. It's nutty. Hell yeah, dude. Bucky's kebab. Nope. Nope, nope, nope. Nope. Not Whataburger. Nope. Fuddruckers? Nope. It was Dave's Hot Chicken. The fried hot chicken place, the chain, is halal. That may be why it's literally my favorite chicken place. It's so good. They have the best chicken. It's perfectly tender, perfectly juicy. Really big. If y'all hold on. Let me make sure it's not gonna just pull up like my yeah, it did basically try to pull up my my city, but here. Like, I'm trying to find a good scale here. Here you go. Oh, damn you. Here, this one's better. This is a Tinder, by the way. This is a Tinder. And they put it on potato buns. These are potato buns. They are so good. They're really big. The thing too is though is this looks like their hot version. They have different flavors. It goes like all the way down the scale, all the way to literally no sauce. There's even like here, let's see. Heat levels, because you can see I looked it up before. There you go. The Reaper one was one that I ate on stream. But yeah, no spice, mild, light, mild, medium. It's so good. If y'all can find a Dave's near you, because they are technically a national level chain, they're crazy good. Crazy good. All right. They look spicy. No, you can get all the way down to mild.
This bread is super famous here
Ooh.
in Cairo. It's called Egyptian bread, and I want to go right
Oh, just
now
Egyptian
and see how
bread?
it's made. And then we get teleported.
Not the sand.
Behind me now, an Egyptian
Really?
bread bakery. You can
Really?
see from the front, the fresh bread coming out, people buying it over here. But
Okay,
we're gonna
then.
get to the back and see what few people have
Is there one
seen
that is
before.
sweet?
Let's go.
No. They don't do other flavors. It's really just level of hotness of the oil they dip in. It's Chewsday. Hi, Mr. Kono. How are you doing, Mr. Kono? Kono.
Simple recipe. This is the backbone of Egyptian cuisine. Hearty, thick.
Welcome in,
rich,
Mr. Kono.
well,
How are you
and
doing?
blunt. It's consumed with almost all Egyptian meals. Eaten fresh
He's an
daily.
X-Men? What?
Street-side bakeries like this are found
Oh,
on
the
every
teleporting
block,
sand one?
with
There is
delivery
actually
men,
a
balancing racks of fresh bread
if you didn't know, there's a Muslim X-Men I'm trying to remember her name, but her power is basically sand. She can turn into sand and she controls sand.
And then he portions it into these perfect little
But yeah, I can't-
balls, and it
Dust.
goes on
Was that
top
her
of
name?
this
Was her name
powder.
Dust?
This powder is like a wheat flour that's been
Ma- ma-
baked.
ma-
Its only
ma-
purpose is to
mowing.
make the dough not stick to the sheet.
Isn't to explode? No, it's not. No. It's the thing is like her whole thing is she doesn't show up that often. More often not, she's a side character. But when she like does have like a story plot, the gist of it is she's trying to like reconcile her like genuine belief in Islam and being a mutant.
But here, I just want to appreciate the skill. I mean, look at
But that story I think was a long time ago. I say a long time ago, maybe close to 10 years, something like that.
Boom.
Mr. Crocodile from One Piece.
At the roasting station. So
Have y'all heard the theory about Crocodile?
Something beautiful. He's gently
That Crocodile is
wheat dust that everything rests on. And the way he flips
it's,
it
you
in
know,
his hand,
I want to see if anybody else catches on to what I'm talking. Yeah, Croco Mom. Yeah, the crocodile may be Luffy's mom.
Super hot. Hundreds of degrees. You can hear the fire underneath heating it up. So they bake hundreds of these at a time.
Yeah, you've never heard
Load
this
them up
theory?
on the conveyor belt, and that just moves and moves continuously. And on the other end, let me tell you, my Habibi.
The thing is, though, is that it has ground. It has ground, even to the point where the artist has drawn crocodile as the woman multiple times as like little extra things here and there.
Every second ordering big bags of this bread, and sometimes you see people.
It make a lot of sense when he fought so hard to defend Luffy once Crocodile found out about his parents. Yep.
While carrying the bread and delivering it to different
And
restaurants.
they believe that she basically went to hide by using what's her name?
Look at this. Oh, it is like a choo-choo train. It's full of steam. It's hot. It's toasty on the top.
I'm trying to remember what's her name? The one that has the ginger transformations. Habibi, come try the bread. Come try the bread.
Been toasted by the flame. That is beautiful.
Yeah, Ivankov, that's it. Yeah.
Oh, it's so delicious. It's warm, it's stretchy, it's soft.
Listen, every country has its bread and every country is correct. Bread is good for the soul. Bread is good for the soul and good for the heart.
For thousands of years, but it can also be used as a utensil. Pick up food, scoop up some sauce, or wrap it around anything you like.
So that's how you make Egyptian bread. So I'm gonna break off.
Okay, that was pretty good little in-between moments. Oh my god, tell me about this fool. I want to know what this tastes like.
There's other flavor enhancers in here too. There's chili powder, tons of tahini. Try it out.
I thought it was corn syrup.
It's got a lot of flavor. I mean, it's really starchy from the bean. That's the main thing I noticed. The tahini
With this cake
is very
bread,
unique 'cause it
correct.
almost acts like a yogurt.
That's mainly because American bread became what it is because of the sugar industry.
Thick sauce. I'm feeling
Wait,
it.
what is that
Super
peanut
bowl
butter looking
flavors,
stuff
but
in the
it's
back?
hearty, it's savory, and it kind of gives you a lot of energy for starting your day. The last thing I want to try is this right here.
The egg?
This is the one called mish.
Mish is a traditional and
Oh, okay, that's what I wanted to
Egyptian
see.
dish made by fermenting salty cheese for several months or
Oh.
even years.
That is intense, super salty, kind of pungent.
Oh,
and
it's
then the
cheese.
tomatoes offer some relief because it's just so
Okay, maybe I'll
powerful.
try it.
almost has
I'd
a
try it.
fermented quality
It's not
to it.
cheddar,
I like
so
it.
I think I'll be
Seems like a good
fine.
food to mix and match with everything else. You're getting some new flavors, and then you can move back.
This two guys
forward
look
to the
pissed as
pool.
hell.
So
The
this
ones in the
is
back.
a
The thing
beautiful way
is,
to start your day.
hold on.
Ton of
If you
food
guys
here,
came in
actually.
before, after this or during my camp thing, they are being followed. Throughout this whole thing, their producer that they hired for this is seemingly a piece of shit. So you'll probably hear a lot of complaining there. But the police have also been following them, and they're doing this on iPhones, by the way. If you don't remember, they're recording this all on iPhones because all of their like cables, their batteries, their drives for their regular cameras were confiscated in the airport. So this is all being recorded on iPhones and
All of
gimbals.
this for under $5. You can't do much better.
Fuck!
So, that's breakfast. We have a
Food
lot more
costs too
food to
much
eat.
here!
Let's go.
Hey, listen, when you gotta go places, you don't only got one meal.
Location, but first, I saw a gentleman making street food. I like his style. He's a hustler. He drove here on his motorcycle. He brought all these ingredients and he's making
Oh.
sandwiches. And this reminds
Eggs?
me
That
of
look like
these
eggs.
long, thin banh mi's they have in Vietnam. So right here you see a long,
Oh, it is. It's
thin
boiled eggs.
baguette bread. So he just takes the egg, he cuts it into slices, he puts salt, pepper, and then he puts something they call here turkey cheese. The cost
Turkey
is about
cheese?
under $1. I'm gonna, I don't
Do it, coward.
eating long objects like this on the internet.
He's
I don't want
watching
you guys
them.
to Photoshop anything in my hand. Hold on, I'm just gonna block your view.
That doesn't make it better. That doesn't make it better.
Is this the best thing in the world? No. It's cheap, it's quick, it's easy, it tastes
It's
good.
not too
There's
bad when you have a
soft bread
decent
here,
phone
and
for
the
it.
cheese- Oh, the cheese is very good. The cheese has a very sharp, almost delightfully stinky smell to it. What I like most is just the story of what's going on here.
It looks like he also has like a jam there, or a couple jars of jam.
Sir, hello? Oh, I'm shaking with the wrong head.
Located in the heart of
Oh, was there a thing
downtown
about not
Cairo's
shaking with the left hand?
Mechanics district. Our next treat is inside here.
Ooh.
A local hotspot offering one of Egypt's
Wait, what
national
is the
dishes.
entire
People
building
don't just
covered
line
in?
up for the flavors, but to take in the gravity-defying display.
Okay.
Welcome to one of the
Those look like
busiest
crispy
street
onions,
food
but they're probably
locations
something
in
else.
All of Cairo. This place is wild. It's mad. It's very busy. Sorry, am I in your way? See? You see what I'm saying? Let me do
No
this.
other
We're
branches?
good. Behind me, they're making a food called kosheri. They have an assembly line full of
I wonder what that
gentlemen
means.
who
What
are
does it
one
mean,
by
no
one
other
adding
branches? Is it
ingredients
saying
that
like this
add
is
up
the
to
one and
this
only place, or are people like trying to make
I'm gonna
fake
go back there
ones?
now and maybe get kicked out. I didn't ask permission. Let's go.
Kosheri, a type of mixed rice dish, originated during the mid-19th
Okay.
century. This dish combines Italian and Arab culinary elements.
It did look like there was some pasta. I did see some pasta in there.
As you move down, you see this is where the
Okay, but the thing is,
so many
hold
raw
on.
ingredients.
Yes, there are entire fucking, let's see. Cinema. Yeah, but their shit looks like this. They're not just using the camera on the iPhone. They're doing shit like this, like this, like this, like this. So when somebody's like, yeah, they make movies on iPhones, yeah, but they still have a $40,000 rig to go along with it. Complaining about him being in the kitchen. I think he did just say that he doesn't like get permission and he like half expects to be kicked out. Just a bit extra. I mean, like you can get like some simpler stuff like this. I actually found some sites because when I was watching the Tokyo Lens channel, he actually puts all of the equipment that he has or likes to use in the description. And I found a really cool website that has some equipment similar to this, as well as like, what's the word? Lenses and stuff. So maybe someday it'd be better to invest in that than as opposed to, I'm lagging. What the fuck is going on?
So they have the rice.
Is it my internet? Is my internet shitting the bed?
There's some spaghetti and kind of like a cut up elbow noodle. Then there's some meat, and right here, this is my favorite part, the fried onions. He flips
Fuck
it
yeah.
in, and he really gives it some style.
I also like the way that they've lined the plates around the outer edge.
Flip. I gotta say, his accuracy is not 100%. About half of the fried onions are actually getting into the container.
I wouldn't say half.
And all the people,
But yeah, it is a little spritzy, a little fancy.
After the onions, it gets the tomato, it gets the chickpeas, but that's just if you're getting it for takeout. If you're eating here like I am, they build the rest of the dish at your table. So see what that looks like now. All right. Everything's separated
Oh, this
right now.
set
On the
looks
top, you put
awesome.
salt and pepper, a little bit of vinegar, something spicy. Oh, yes. Squeeze of lime or lemon, and then they put that on top of the feast right here. That looks incredible. Look at this.
Oh my god, dude. Oh my god, dude.
But when you come to places like this,
If you're, I say this all the time. My favorite dishes in the world are ones that like you can just mix the fuck together and then eat with a spoon. That shit's the best. That shit's the best.
Wow.
I mean, just a bit extra, it's fine.
So it's like a spaghetti, but then you have
They're an entire fucking, a whole fucking.
And then you've got chickpeas in there. They're almost soggy, but it adds a very different texture to everything. There is some meat on here, but it's not super easy to taste amongst everything else.
I was gonna say it looked like it was like maybe minced beef. I'm guessing minced beef.
Now I'm in the heart of the country. I'm trying really authentically pure Egyptian food. Can I put my finger on exactly what Egyptian food is yet? No, but I need to keep trying.
Can you, with a lot of like Northern Africa
Just after filming
and like Middle Eastern foods, there are some. Ooh.
Van drive to the nearby police station. They caught us in the sinful act of filming bread on the sidewalk.
How dare you? How dare you? How dare you film bread?
Is at a police station. All the local people have been taken out of the van. They've gone through the shots on my phone, and we don't know what's going to happen.
All the local people have been taken out of the van?
Try to delete the footage. Luckily, we've already just airdropped the footage to a decoy phone, so it doesn't matter. Hopefully it doesn't get to that anyways. But
Smart. I was gonna say I would pull like some decoy phone shit or some like uploaded to Google Drive or some shit.
To have our whole vehicle have to be pulled into here to speak to the police and to justify our actions, even though we
Had to
have
be
a
pulled
permit.
into here?
Doesn't matter. So, not sure what's gonna happen. We're gonna find out pretty soon.
I was gonna say, but they're like permits. I mean, they got permits when they were in Afghanistan. So, Afghanistan? I probably just butchered that.
So, we just got done with the police.
You're not
We're
liking
at
to
our
me,
destination.
beef.
Get this. They told us to
I thought that was
delete
a
our
snake for a
footage.
second, but
Why?
it's just a ribbon blowing in the
No
wind.
reason. Do we have a permit? Yup. Do we break a law? No. As far as I can understand. It all
Okay,
depends on
yeah. There's
how
my
the
permit
people
question
at the top
answered.
are feeling on that particular day. What they told us is that the footage of the bakery we shot wasn't beautiful. It wasn't pretty enough. It didn't meet their standard.
Yeah, because you took all of their equipment and they're stuck with phones.
I don't get it. So did we actually delete it? Absolutely not. While we were waiting, we airdropped all the footage to an extra phone. That's the phone I showed them, and that's the footage I deleted. They don't even know how the phones work. It's all the footage is in my delete bin right now. I can just restore it at any time. So that's fortunate. Literally,
Flawless. Flawless. Where are they? They're in Egypt.
We're constantly
This is
paranoid,
Egypt.
and I don't really like it. It's not that fun, to be honest. But we have a job to do.
Aw,
The
the
mission must go
kids.
on. I actually really like this next food.
Twitch
we're
being a
doing,
little
so
funky
I'll
today.
leave
I
it.
want to watch Mar, damn it, but it keeps stuttering. There's a lot of people that are saying that it's been stuttering. But then there's other people that say it's fine. So like, I don't know what the deal
When it
is.
comes to Egyptian street
Could it be
food,
localized
Hawashi
servers?
Is a big top contender. But when it comes to Hawashi, well, you must come here. The perfect place to kill
That's,
street food while being shielded from the view of the police.
The Indian restaurant here has a naan that's very similar to this.
They're known for their unique recipes.
And it's
a
so fucking
wide-ranging
good,
menu
dude.
with tons of
Something just with
variations,
like
a version
flatbread
with
and
cheese or
meats.
other various meats. Now, the question
Oh
that
my
must be
god.
answered,
Gorditas?
heck
Like
is a
Mexican
Welsh?
gorditas? Oh my god. I'm sorry. Shit's just so fucking
One of my
good.
favorite foods I've tried so far. I'm sorry, I tried this one without you guys.
Also have no problems with Twitch today.
On my own
Interesting.
time.
Have a
It's
good
one of my
night,
favorites.
Cabela's.
So here's how it starts. First of all, this is
Good luck at the night
pizza bread.
shift.
My man here, he cuts the edges off so it can be opened up easily. Then over here,
Is he only
they're
doing it
bringing
at
out some minced
one
lamb.
side?
That lamb meat is spiced, it's delicious, and it gets spread, kind of smeared
That is
by hand within this bread.
I was gonna say too, that is a lot of meat.
What makes this place stand out are the
That's an impressive amount of
spices they
meat.
put into the meat.
That's more than an
Once a batch
average
of
meatball.
kibble is stuffed, they bring them to the grilling station.
Here, he puts it on this very
Oh.
hot griddle. The meat's gonna cook through, the bread's gonna get crispy, and all of it is gonna be absolutely delicious. Before, but I've never had it with cheese. It's steaming up. There's spices, there's lamb, there's cheese. It smells incredible.
I think I saw tomatoes and like maybe a little bit of lettuce thrown in there too.
Let me show you really quick. I love this. Oh yes, ooey,
Ooh.
gooey cheese on the inside. Oh, as he cuts it, you can see the cheese squirting out. That looks so good. Aside from this, we also have pickled vegetables and we have tahini here. Now,
Okay.
I've tried tahini a couple times today.
I'll take 20 of those round meal. What do you mean round meal?
Interesting. To me, it's
What do
similar
you
to a
mean
hummus.
round
It's a little bit
meal?
different feeling in your mouth because it's not made with chickpeas. It's made with sesame seeds. But
Do you,
with the
well,
spice, the
I'll
salt,
take
the
20.
texture,
I'll
it's a
take
little
two.
hummusy.
I'll
I'm gonna
take
try
two
some
and I will be
vegetables
full
right here.
all
We got
day.
Tomato, eggplant. I'm gonna grab some of the carrot. Wow. Okay, pickle overload. I think that is the
Oh,
palate
overly
cleanser, but I
vinegar?
need to cleanse my palate from
Beepus.
that with the Pepsi.
Enjoy your beepus.
I've noticed in this country the pickles are on another level. They're super salty, sour, and spicy too. It's kind of
Oh.
addictive though. It's such a powerful flavor.
Okay.
It punches you in the face like eating raw garlic.
Bulking
After a
season,
while, it
bulking
goes away,
season.
dissipates, and you want another hit. This is why we're here. Oh, beautiful cheese pull.
No, I don't need to do
Try it out.
bulking season. I need to do more cardio. Feeds
So
5
many
men.
things to love. The
Doubt.
texture is so crunchy.
Doubt.
The bread by itself is amazing. The meat is beautifully seasoned, almost a little bit like eating a Sikh kebab with all the spices and flavors. And it's a
Ooh.
very fine mince. Take a look at this. Here you can see when I peel the top layer off, the cheese is still sticky. Not too liquidy, not too solid. Give it a little bit of a dip. Is this what people do? I'm assuming it's there as a dip, like ranch. I don't know if I can say
It's the Egyptian ranch,
It is
tahini.
at a different level, different dimension. It's like taking
Round
something that's
meal.
already very
Fairbanks, what is your
delicious and
round
putting it
meal?
in
If you
a
made a
jar.
round meal, what would be in it?
Just how it is.
Macaroni and
Just
beef?
like your
No.
Wife, girlfriend, whoever you're sleeping
Somebody
with.
said-
Keep telling them that.
Wait, that's the dude from Ratatouille in the
I
background.
believe if it's not too late, we've got one more spot to go. Let's do it.
Why is the dude from Ratatouille on the wall?
Rivers winding round words in my head.
Hold on.
Rivers winding.
I hate that hotel. What the actual fuck is going on over here? There's like nothing here with it. Is that a stadium? Is that what those signs are facing into? No. No, I think that's more of the road. What the fuck?
Round words in my head. Shivering pines
Pizza flavored round meal? Pizza flavored or
Shooting in Cairo,
is it just an orb of like dough and pizza toppings and cheese and sauce?
our local Egyptian producer turned out to be
Burger.
completely incompetent,
Burger.
and even more police told us to delete our footage.
the things I've
On
done.
the bright side, I got to hang out with some really cool, kind people.
Yeah, my ass would be fucking like airdropping that shit as we finished recording
I got
it.
to visit one of the 7 man-made wonders of the world.
Hell yeah, dude. I still can't believe they let Mr. Beast in there. Who the fuck? Who the fuck?
We are right outside the pyramids right now. We're gonna ride the camels because that's what you do when you come here. I've been told the first thing I should
Is
do
it what you
find
do?
A camel that speaks to me. This one just farted. It has gas. That's how you know it's
I
my
suppose
spirit
that's
animal.
speaking.
All right, this is a
I
camel for
the
me.
jambalaya round meal. Ooh.
This series, and my experience in Egypt, They're both complicated.
He's a big boy.
I have nothing against the people of Egypt. I just think in a country that makes 12% of its GDP from tourism, the police, the authorities, and those who run this place might want to stop treating their tourists like spies and criminals.
Probably also true. And so whenever you only allow the most beautiful of like depictions, then you don't end up with a realistic image.
Let's hope it goes better today.
What's he holding?
Right now we're in Old
Wow,
Cairo.
really the most
cool
classic
food
of
and
Egyptian
like this behind me.
intros.
What's on the menu? I'm not sure yet. We're gonna go place to place, stall to stall, and see who's gonna let us come in and shoot some videos.
Wait,
Today, I'm on a mission to discover this city's most unique street food.
And then you eat the meat. That was a
no, I don't think that's.
Food.
I don't think it's Arabian dances. For a second, I thought it was Arabian dances. I don't think it is.
My tongue will meet this tongue. Let's go.
All the way to Pigeons.
Oh my God, it's happening!
This place is full of exotic surprises.
Oh, guys, what is going on in here?
Hopefully,
That was a head at one point. Lipton. No, Coca-Cola's gotten here too.
But I guess I'll have to find out
But probably not.
right after breakfast.
Ooh. I eat for 3. I require good food. That is too much food to be eating. To eat for 3? You ain't pregnant. Probably,
Next to an
right?
intersection in a residential
Are you
area,
pregnant?
Meat sellers capitalize on the constant foot traffic. Customers are lured in by the heavy wafts of grilled and fried beef.
Speaking of meatballs,
Boom, we've come to our first destination. Behind me, we've got sausages, liver, but look at this. This is
Oh.
my favorite. It's a big
Sheep's head.
cow head. It looks like it's been dried, or maybe a witch put a spell on it. I don't know. Let's go find out more.
it looks like it got crushed.
And then this is where the magic happens. So it looks like everything here is beef oriented. That is sausage. Mumbar. Intestine sausage.
Oh,
What?
okay, gotcha.
Liver.
That's it.
Tongue. Oh, cool. Okay. Can
He
I
just
have
put his finger in his
two
mouth and then
cow
touched the tongue.
Okay. Feel good? It's just beefy. There's no real seasonings in it, and it tastes like it's been braised for like 4 or 5 hours. But this should be in something.
Braised in what? Braised in what?
This beef is eaten in a sandwich. Various beef
I
cuts are
am a
sliced and
man.
tossed into a pan called a challah.
There was something like this I saw in Mexico, but literally the
Oh.
opposite. This is concave. That was convex.
The fried beef bits
Didn't
are
we-
tossed
didn't we
into
see something like
traditional
this
Egyptian
somewhere
bread,
else
along with
recently?
fried onions.
As simple as
This
it
is our first
comes.
meal of the day. This is
And a
breakfast.
salad.
It's a
And you still get a
cow
side
part. I gotta
salad.
say, I love that unique frying creation where it has a little pit for frying. And then
Damn,
a
I
big
gotta make
beach
Marmar
around it
crunchy
for
in
all the
order
food
to watch.
hang
I'm
out and dry out.
sorry.
Really cool. They have all types of different
Bond
parts
villain
here,
ass
including
building.
the esophagus.
It was
Right here we have the
it was a
brain
Hilton
and the
hotel.
steak. You can
That's
see they
pretty
have
villainous.
everything in there. I mean, what is that? Oh, okay.
I see
so that
tongues.
is the esophagus. It looks so bizarre. It's like something from Alien. I didn't know how to order it. It looked like they're still cooking it. So maybe next time for the esophagus. But here,
That's
inside
fine.
of the
That's
bread,
fine.
We've got
It looked
onions,
pretty, like,
liver,
almost
sausage, and
gelatinous.
I think they put a little bit of face.
I'm a highly intelligent crow with a keyboard and a PC. That makes sense. All right, go give me shiny
No idea
things,
what background
Corvo.
that
Go
is.
give me
It's quite
shiny
good,
things.
actually, but super oily. But they have a nice salad on the side here. Here we got onions, tomatoes, chilies.
That's
and a little
just
bit of
a
cucumber.
classic
It's
kind of
like
vinegary
a,
salad.
Arabic pico de gallo. So I'm gonna use my bread just to pick up some of that. Try that out. Oh. So this is pretty good. It's spicy, refreshing. I like it. I like it a lot. On the side here,
I was gonna say it's always good with a lot of dishes.
A sort of hummus made of sesame seeds. It's found alongside most meals.
Again,
here.
this
gonna
is
just dip
the
a
same
little bit of
video
meat
from
in
us,
there.
but originally these were all separate videos. So that's
It's a
just
bit
a heads
nutty,
up.
But it's not my favorite. It's like a salt bomb in your mouth. But
So he'll
here,
probably
beautiful
explain
seasoned
tahini like
sausage
each
with onions
day
on
as
top.
it
Try out.
progresses.
It's super rich, super fatty, but quite delicious. I think what
Ooh.
they do here is they got the bread. I'm gonna put the sausage in there, some onions.
Oh, it looks like there's
I'm
rice
throwing
in the
this on
sausage,
there,
too.
And then I'm gonna put all that in a little bit of the tahini.
Fuck yeah,
That's
dude.
delicious. It's a lot of powerful flavors. But
I
when you
brought
mix
this
them together, it's quite
Celsium
delicious. This is a good
137.
breakfast.
Oh no! All right, guys, ad break's about to start in just a second. So we're gonna take a pause. I'm gonna run and go check on Coco real quick. And y'all aren't gonna fail at level 3 again, right? Right? All right. All right, Corvo's in charge. Actually, Fairbanks is in charge. Fairbanks, you're in charge. Good luck, kids. Okie dokie. Sorry, I was eating peanut butter crackers. I've been sitting here for the last minute eating peanut butter crackers. Because I didn't want to go crunch, crunch right in your ears. All right. Well, technically you didn't fail level 3, but we'll see what happens next commercial break. We'll see what you can do next time. Why is it lagging? Maybe I'll reboot my router. I'll reboot my router after stream today. And then we'll see what happens. Yeah, the thing is, though, is I'm not having any issues. I feel like it has to be Twitch. But again, my computer is also lagging. All right. Put you away. Back to Egypt beef cooking.
Egypt
Goddamn.
is a Muslim majority country, which means most follow a strict halal diet. This means no pork, no reptiles, or other animals some might consider extreme meats. But when it comes to the animals they do eat, like lamb, well, people here eat everything, including the head and face.
I'm like 99.9% sure it's primarily Twitch because it's been a problem across multiple streams. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, like Rodane was saying it was only his.
Organs, sausage. I saw sausage
Only theirs?
too. The sausage is gigantic, by the way. I was very impressed by it. Not jealous, just impressed. Oh my God.
I'm jealous that it's not in my fucking mouth.
Just an inordinate amount of different sheep parts.
Here, these lamb heads are boiled in local spices for hours until the meat and fats break down and become incredibly tender.
I have a big plate with the sheep head. Everything.
Although this meat may seem exotic to some, here it's no big deal.
Oh, he just cut me off a little piece of
Oh no,
sausage.
I think the weirdest thing is once you kind of like have the concept of being like a foodie down, exotic is not really a word to describe a food unless you're like afraid of trying it. That's basically, people call food exotic when they go, I don't think I'm gonna eat that.
Time to sit down and eat. Let's do it.
But you sit here and tell me that this shit looks so fucking good.
Right now. And most of the vendors we've gone to have been pretty nice. This guy was a little impatient at first until I dropped 100 pounds, just like $6.30. And I said, hey, fill up a plate. That's what he did. And he's been very happy to accommodate any of our requests ever since. Here, we have a broth.
I'm a paying customer, sir. I promise you I'm not being annoying on purpose.
The meat forever, and they take
have you ever tried Polish? No, I have not. I've never had the opportunity.
Flavor is going to go out of the meat.
I've never lived somewhere where it was available. I've had Czech food. I've had Czech food,
kind of a little bit of a salad
but that's the closest. That's the closest I think I've ever gotten.
This is the tongue. I'm gonna rip the tongue off of here, and then I'm gonna hit it with the lime and try it out. Slimy yet satisfying. There's something about it. It's got personality. Very nice.
Slimy yet satisfying.
Let's try the brain. Here you can see all the ridges in the brain.
I think the brain to me is the hardest part to convince myself to eat when it comes to a lot of food.
It was probably a polyglot.
Probably because almost no matter what you do to it, unless you turn it into like a paste in and of itself, it's almost always served in pieces and it still always very much looks like a brain.
Delicious yummy face, like I just ate delicious scallop or something. It is brains. It is creamy. It's bold. I probably put too much of it on there. If you're looking to get gout so you can get disability leave, I recommend eating this every day. I'm gonna try this broth now.
Wait, what?
Wow, that is muttony. If you are not a mutton fan, I mean, that is pure mutton distilled down into a juice.
I was gonna say, they did the seasonings and almost every bit of sheep that they could shove into a pot. Yeah, you're gonna have the perfect fucking lamb broth, baby. I put that shit in a jar and take it home. Hi, Humel, how are you doing?
Salt. You can see all the fingerprints. It's like a crime scene in there. I think people usually put a bit of that salt onto the meat. Try it out.
I mean, that probably makes sense.
This is a tough food for tourists because if you come here and you don't know the lay of the land, you might walk away a little bit disappointed, or you might even say this didn't have enough flavor. But there's other flavor enhancers all around it. So you need to mix and match until you get the right blend of flavors. These
I was gonna say, yeah.
That people here have grown up with. They see their parents, how they're mixing and matching food. That's what you got to do.
I mean, yeah, that makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. A lot of these dishes come with like, that's what side dishes are for typically.
This place is called Nefa, named after the
not
dish
Nike.
they sell, El Nagahi, named after the
Wait
owner.
a second.
The place is called Nefa, named after the
Hold
dish
on.
they sell, El Nagahi.
Where have I seen that face? What is this face from, chat? This looks so familiar. What is he from? Where does this face come from? Is he on those generic pizza boxes? Does this face come on like those generic pizza boxes that like most local pizza places have? Y'all know the ones I'm talking about, right? Right? This is the face that shows up on generic pizza box. Uncle Italian. It's the Italian uncle, one and only.
Named after the owner, who cooks.
Okay, I'm just making sure it was the only one. I saw it and I was like, wait a second.
We have come to our
Wait a
next destination.
second.
I'm with the chef right now, and take a look at this. This is something
Ooh.
completely magical. Sheep that's been cooked underground.
Those are the bones.
He's pulling the bones out now, and it's so soft. It looks so delicious. Look at that. That's like a shoulder blade or something. Can I have that? I'm gonna pull this meat right off of the bone.
Okay, that part is not going to be crazy edible. I can see how it's been like overly cooked through.
It's been around for more than 100 years. A lamb cooked in an underground oven without any spices or seasonings. The flavors come from the high
Wait, does it still count as the underground oven?
It's cooked low and slow until every cut is fall off the bone soft.
I'm gonna try it out.
Oh my god. Chef Boyardee. It does kind of look like Chef Boyardee, but not quite.
You said it melts in your mouth.
Isn't Chef Boyardee have like white hair and a white mustache?
With your tongue against the roof of your mouth, it is that soft. Can I order?
Do you eat the bones from the meat? It depends on the meat
Please.
and like how it's served.
This looks incredible. A huge platter.
The,
full of different mutton parts.
like, I've had, like,
This reminds
oxtail
me
and
so
stuff.
much of Mexico right now. There's a few parallels between
You can't
this
really
and
eat like the
barbacoa.
hard bone. I mean like
Mexico,
bone marrow
they
and
also cook
everything.
underground, and they also are famous for kind of cooking with no seasonings at all. And that's the same
But
thing they've
bones
done
are way
here.
better
Beyond,
whenever,
in Mexico, you eat everything with a
they're used for,
tortilla.
like, broth
Here,
and
you eat
stuff.
everything with Egyptian bread. It's a very different
For
part of the
anyone, or is
world,
it just
but
me?
kind of
It's a big
similar
problem with a lot of people, M. Nights. I don't know if you'll even be able to hear me say that. A lot of people are having this issue. We don't know what it is. It's not me. I have not dropped any frames. I still only have 81 frames dropped at 0.0%, and I am in the green.
That is so good.
I
It's so
honestly
rich,
don't know
so
why we are
incredibly heavy.
buffering
That's
so
why they have
much.
this-
It's
this is a
really
salad, and
weird.
it cuts through the heaviness a
It's
little bit.
really,
You
really
also
weird.
have This here, this is called salad dressing water. Some people also call
Oh.
it Egyptian whiskey. The fact is, it is 0% alcohol, which is unfortunate. But I'll try
Okay.
it anyways. Oh,
Is it like a-
might as well get you drunk. It's basically like vinegar, chili powder.
Okay, I was gonna say, it's
chilies,
basically like a
maybe
vinegar
salt. It's
sauce
really
that you
tense.
like
Tense and
take a sip
intense.
of with like any of the food that you're eating.
We have right here the bread. I'm gonna make myself a little bit of an Egyptian
I can see that. I can see
barbacoa
that.
taco. I'm gonna open this up and I'm gonna start layering in some meat. Throw some herbs on there.
Hell yeah.
Here we go. And you know what?
Might be Twitch doing shit again. I'm pretty sure it is, Night. I'm pretty sure it is. Where are you? What country are you from by chance? Or what like continent? Because I know some of the people that are having problems are European.
I love it.
But I'm trying to find like a what's the word? A general problem. Testicles.
Testicles.
There it
This
is.
is what the owner calls Viagra. It's funny, right? Because you come to an Arabic country, you think maybe people are very conservative.
Here you go. Here you go. Here you go. It's Viagra. It's Viagra. Yes, enjoy.
I toss it back and I'll be like a young virile man again. Here we go.
Yeah,
One
that's,
shot of
everybody
full
knows if you want to be the most virile person you can be, you need to eat testicles. You need to eat
Tastes like testicle
oysters.
soup. Do you think I was gonna say chicken? No, it's nothing like chicken. Not at all. It's fatty, gooey, savory. It's
I'm gonna say I've never had
kind of
lamb
soupy.
testicles, but I have had
I'm worried
beef
about having two.
testicles,
Maybe I'll have too
cow
much power.
testicles,
My wife's not here.
Rocky Mountain oysters, if you will. Oh, I'm lagging now too. I have no issues, typo.
Right now, we're going to the.
Oh, you
very
have
top.
no
We're building a
issues. Okay, gotcha,
rooftop.
gotcha, gotcha,
Here
gotcha.
In Cairo, there's not a lot of space, but they've got rooftops, and here they keep something very special.
Very
Let me
weird,
show
very
you.
weird. It's Twitch, they don't like Eldritch Clowns. They're nerfing me. They don't want me to get partner. They hate me. They hate me.
I regret this immediately.
You scared them.
Oh, I just had a good idea.
Allow me to introduce you to the Cairo craft of bird
I didn't get that
In
joke
here,
earlier,
there
but now I
must be
realized that it was because the light
pigeons.
just turned
It's
on.
a crap load of pigeons. And actually, speaking of a crap load, look down here. It's a load of crap.
Yeah. Time to get the power
Listen,
washer.
It's not uncommon to see men standing on rooftops, waving a flag, and corralling their pigeons. That's because around once a day,
Okay.
the birds are released and allowed to fly freely to get some exercise.
Oh my God, it's happening! Yeah, go, go, go! Wow, this is wild.
To communicate with the pigeons, the bird keeper
Are they
uses a
raising
complex
them,
series of
or-
whistles and gestures signaling whether they should fly higher.
Are they raising
or
them for
come
food? Because I
home.
think before we saw that
Amazingly,
it seemed like they
always
cooked the
return.
pigeons.
Sometimes the bird keepers will have one bird less, and sometimes one bird more. As you can see, people here really love their pigeons, whether they look like this or like this.
Oh, Ooh,
here,
stuffed.
we are on the side of the street.
Ooh.
To be honest, I don't know where
Give me the
we are.
vision.
We're somewhere in Cairo. Somewhere where we've not been caught. Can you believe this, guys? We've shot almost a whole day. I don't want to jinx it, but I'm feeling
late.
pretty good about it. Here in this alleyway, there's a special shop.
I think your theory was right. Is Europe having a problem? I don't know if it's like maybe
These
like a
pigeons are
localized
filled with
server.
heavily and heavenly spiced rice-based stuffing, then deep fried until they're crispy.
I've been told you can actually eat everything. These bones seem thick and hard. I don't know how that's possible. Let's see what happens.
Oh, kitty.
Oh, that's super yummy. It tastes like buttery rice.
I feel like
with
it's just
fried
like
chicken
a
skin
weird
on the
version of
outside.
like boudin.
Man, that's really nice. I'm gonna kind of rip this spine back. Someone told me I could eat this. Let's see if I break my teeth. Oh God, it's working. I'm eating a pigeon spine. And to be careful,
There you go.
there's
There's your
some
eating your
shards.
bones.
You don't want to kill
Don't forget to eat your bones, kids. This would be a problem with Twitch. I think it is Corvo, because I have only dropped 81 frames, and it was over an hour ago.
Oh wow. Oh my God, like pure fat. I think if this got to room temperature,
Oh,
it would
goodness.
turn solid like butter. Wow, that's just pure
Wait,
richness.
is it? Is
So
it
far,
just
I've
fat?
never really tried any of the pigeon meat, just its spine and the stuffing inside. Most of the meat is in the pigeon breast. I'm gonna try to rip it off and see if I can.
Okay.
Show you. So that right there is a little
Make it a bit of
rice
a mess here,
and
champ. Make it a bit of a
breast.
mess.
Better be a lot of bang for the buck. Let's go.
Oh God, you can see a fucking
Very
artery
beautiful.
in there.
Like Mediterranean spices, soft, juicy breast, amazing buttery rice. I love it. Next time you're walking through New York or Chicago and you see hordes of pigeons collecting together, don't be disgusted. Think, hey, that's delicious food, I bet. Maybe
Ooh,
collect one for
nom,
yourself and
nom,
bring it to an Egyptian guy. Don't do that. Maybe. I'd try it out.
I don't think it would work with any
For our
Egyptian
final
guy.
stop,
Oh,
we have
how are
something
those sandwiches
really
again?
special. A restaurant with a complex of cooking stations, serving
Oh.
endless meat options. But we're here for their signature soup that comes with its own show.
Welcome to our next
Own
restaurant.
show.
This place is Egyptian meat heaven. Let
With
me give you a
European
little bit of a
internet
tour.
connection?
Right
I-
here, sausage.
I don't know
Right
for
now, he's
sure.
cooking up literally thousands of little bitty
I
sausages
don't know
here.
for sure.
Oh, thank you. All right, take a look.
I'm
It's
thinking
very
of maybe
much
like a
good, but it's
specific
worth it.
server.
Try it out. Oh, I can't
With
put my
Europe, so I was
finger
trying to
on
figure
all
out
the
if it
meat
had
that are
something to do with
inside,
maybe
but
like the
man, that
Netherlands
is good.
server or something.
Right here we have another meat, but this is much more like beef
But-
that's been shaved. It's very thin steak. He's just putting it back and forth, making sure it doesn't burn. That looks super good too. Let's keep going this way. Wow,
More
everything here
meat.
is on such a big scale. They just must have so many customers coming in each day. Here also it looks like beef,
Okay.
and that's just hitting the flat top. We're not done. This is
And then-
hawashi. This is something we did get to try yesterday.
Okay, it is the meat. It is the meat. The meat
But here they're
flatbread.
doing the same thing, large scale, cooking just dozens of them at a time. Looks awesome.
It always looks awesome. Listen, you can't go wrong with flatbread and seasoned meat, dude.
Liver? Yeah, all right. We got liver meat. Is this where your liver is? I'm not sure. I should feel for what hurts because I drink too much. Yeah, it's right here. Oh yeah, it's been doing a lot of work lately.
So I don't think it's Europe. Yeah, I don't think it is either. I thought it was at first, but then I was gonna say I think some people from the US are having the same problem.
Wait until you see this.
This is the Malachaya. He's talking to me. Oh my God! I was not expecting this. Oh God, don't get into my eyeballs. I'm scared.
Malachaya is known as the food of kings, a traditional Egyptian
Oh.
soup made from jute leaves, a sort of Egyptian spinach. This soup is so intense, it used to be outlawed in Egypt for its alleged aphrodisiac effects.
You're gonna get too horny.
Oh, okay.
Oh, is he wearing a glove?
Just like that, it's over. Here, we have a whole table full of food.
What is
Let's do a
it- what
little
is
bit
the
of a
one with the
tour. We
tomato
got some of
stuff on
the
top?
classics, the bread, the salad, the tahini. And then here, this is what they just poured out. This is the malachaya.
Looks like some
I think
chili
I'm
oil
saying it
thrown on
right.
top.
Maybe I need to put in some more.
I'll take
but
3
I'll work on
bowls.
that later.
I want all
This
3
is
of
what
these
we're gonna
bowls.
start
I don't know
with.
what's in them. I just want all of them.
Start by chopping
Oh.
down cow hooves and ankles into smaller pieces. Those
Okay.
are boiled and added to a clay pot where they're soaked in a beef broth and cooked with allspice, nutmeg, cardamom, cinnamon, ginger, and cloves.
Ooh,
It just goes really
savory.
with the theme for today, which has been really super rich foods. Come take a look. These are all the little bits and doodads that hold the legs together and make it move. Oh gosh, look at that. That's just a piece of
Gelatinous.
Oh, this is one of my favorite things to eat in Vietnam. We'll see how it compares here.
Ooh, okay. Which one's gonna be better?
Very rich. That's like the word of the day. It's like I don't even need chapstick now. It has oiled up my lips. Oh, let me get some of that broth. It looks like something Exxon would be responsible for.
Allspice? Thought that was the deodorant.
Oh, it's so just greasy. But I love
Was it
it.
allspice? Is allspice the
We had
deodorant?
the green one that we talked about already. We
Trying to remember
that
the,
scalded me and went into my eyeballs earlier. I'm not gonna try that yet because it's meant to be tried with this. This is tomato on top of rice. It's almost like a chunky
Sold.
marinara. This
Sold.
white rice is supposed to mix with the green stuff here. Let's see how this goes because this
Ah,
is
okay.
borderline slimy. It looks like Shrek's toilet.
That's mean. I bet it's gonna be
We've got our
awesome.
rice, a little tomato.
So
a little
a tomatoey
of the-
like
I just
seasoned
saying,
rice
makes me
with
feel like I
this
know Arabic.
like
Try it.
almost spinachy soup.
That's really good. It reminds me a lot
Of
of
course it's
spinach.
gonna be fucking
You've
good,
got
dude.
spinach that's been seared
Oh my
boiled
God.
until it's really,
I'm
like,
making
broken
myself
down and
hungry.
Become kind of greasy. Because if you look at the top of this, that's just pure oil. I know what you're thinking. Oh, so like olive oil? No, it's just cooking oil. The one vegetable I've seen all
Okay,
day
but what kind
is
of cooking
just
oil?
full of oil. It is delicious. It has a very unique, super.
Or is it like the various
savory,
oils that have like
taste to
rendered
it,
up
but
out of the
man,
plants?
That is heavy. I think I might explode if I take one more bite of anything. I can tell that
Fuck you, give me all
here
that.
in Egypt, at least in Cairo, they love heavy food and they love their meat. Tons of mutton.
Yeah,
tons
it's
of
called being
beef.
full.
There's
Again,
chicken up
like-
there too, but we didn't have that today.
Again, a lot of
Otherwise,
desert
that
countries,
is a
their
pretty
meals are gonna be
successful day,
quite
too. Can't
hefty.
complain. We went to 6 places and honestly, no police. How's it possible? Maybe we're gonna get through this series after all. Fingers crossed. Let's see.
We'll see.
After being in Cairo for 2
Oh my
days,
God!
and after being stopped by multiple police who asked us to delete our footage, I think
Okay.
it's time to leave. But I'm not leaving Egypt. Oh no.
Oh, leaving Cairo. Okay.
We're jumping in a van, leaving
The police
Cairo,
are after
and
him.
driving
They've been
to
kind of
one this
harassing them
country's
like
most
the first day or
out-of-this
the. Oh, there
world
goes the camel.
We've almost literally effing run over about 5 times now. When you're here, you need to watch your back and your friend's back.
sights. Today,
He
I'm on a
grabs
mission
the
to
cameraman
find
by the
and
arm.
cook
Move,
an
move,
entire
move.
camel.
Are people eating this?
Yes.
It sounds
Oh, are they selling the
straightforward,
camels?
But more threats of police
At any moment, police can stop us.
and literal threats from our own local producer make this day much
Hold on. I really like. So there's something goofy to me about the sounds that camels make because they're always just.
more than I bargained for.
Have they had camel meat?
In the
You
end,
pay by law,
I hope to
it's not-
experience
what?
one of Egypt's most unique delicacies.
Has he cooked this before?
Never.
Oh.
Oh. Oh. Have they had camel meat? At this point, I don't know. I know in the future they have camel meat when they go to Iran. In the visits to Iran, they have. Was it Iran or was it Afghanistan? I can't remember
Northwest
which.
of Cairo, about a 1-hour drive.
I think it was
we bring you to a small
Afghanistan.
Village just on the edge of the delta's cultivated
But
land.
that's current. They're in
Oh gosh,
Afghanistan
home
right
of
now,
Egypt's
seemingly.
most grand camel market. Fridays are the best days.
Oh,
Full of
good
action,
Lord.
Camels proudly displayed and plenty of commerce. And all that ends by 11
But I
a.m.
like the ones
So who better
that
than you?
moved. The kid was like, "Wait, where's he going? Where's he doing? What's he doing? Do I need to hustle?"
Before arriving, our local producer tells us to proceed with caution so as to not create suspicion among the local police.
Huh?
A quick word about our local producer. His name is Ahmed Sadiq. He
Uh-oh.
was hired solely for the purpose of preparing and executing our Egypt production. In all my years of hiring producers and doing this show, I've never come across someone who's more incompetent. He's conniving and paranoid. So, when he says we have to be careful for police, I have no choice but to be paranoid too.
All right, we are heading into the camel market
Okay.
right now. There are camels everywhere.
Yeah, my friend. Well, the thing is, that, like, even in the first fucking episode, they were already insulting him, and only now do we get like even a modicum of like explanation. Cheap hookah. What are we
Men smoke
smoking?
shisha.
What are we smoking, bud?
Some drink tea, and some are taking a break after a day of brokering undulates. This is a
Ah,
rare
yes,
moment of
undulates.
peace in a place that's made up
Ungulates.
of pure chaos.
Oh, he's just hanging out. Oh, oh, he's on the run. He's on the run.
I suggest leaving your kids at home for this one. Burgash Camel Market. If you don't keep your head on a swivel, you will get trampled.
Okay, how many camels
Cash
can you
has been trading
possibly
hands
sell?
for camels for over 700 years on this very ground. Generation after generation.
do they sell every day?
families
Is it
all
only
the
on
way from Sudan,
Fridays?
Ethiopia and Somalia brought their best in show here.
The Egypt lace Zara, the boof of raw.
Right now we're
No!
Like I've traveled back in time about 100 years, maybe 1,000.
It's like a monthly
It is
market?
wild.
Okay, maybe.
Pure chaos. There's loads of camels, people. They're shuffling them around. Sometimes they're beating them with sticks to get them.
I wonder why
moved. It's
some of them,
nothing
they
I've ever
kind of
seen
just like
before.
tie
So
up
ultimate
one of their
mission here
legs.
is to go buy a camel. So we're headed to a vendor right now who is going to provide us with a camel. We're going to negotiate. I've heard the price is something like $1,500. So we're going to go.
For a
We're
whole
gonna try to get a
camel?
And then see how much
Okay,
of
yeah,
the market we
that
can
sounds about
explore
right.
before
That
we
sounds
absolutely
fair.
have to get out of here.
That sounds
Now you
pretty
know what's
fair, I
going on.
think.
Let's go.
You're cute. Hi, random person. Welcome in. Thank you. $1,500 for a whole ass camel. He's just pulling him by his bottom lip. Amazing. Come on, bud. Again, I just... Why? I also can't tell if some of these are kids chasing the camels.
Man, what do you got there? Come on. Oh, okay. Nice to meet you.
Please no camel.
The
Okay.
boss of the camel. Brother from another mother.
In spite of the pandemonium, no authority figures
Okay.
seem to really care that we're here.
I was the steady camel.
Maybe Ahmed
Camel.
was paranoid,
You want camel?
or maybe we're just lucky.
So far, it's not working out.
Camels are grouped according
Camel
to
go
who they
rounds?
belong to. The
No!
guy who looks like he
I
owns
just like, I
them
really like the
probably
sounds
does.
camels make. They're
There
really
are
funny
about
to me.
2,000 camels bought and sold here every week. They're marked with Arabic
They also sound like
words,
burping.
so the
They sound like
Gucci
burping a lot.
camels don't get mixed up with the Carhartts.
A neckline or collar. Or what is that? Just art? It's a collar. It's a collar. A collar finds its way into my designs every time. And not even because I asked for it. It's never because I asked for it, honestly.
Are people eating this?
Yes.
Oh, that was the camel
The
mill.
big one.
Yes. Eating the young.
How much is this?
30,000.
So $2,000 to $3,000 for an entire camel.
Plus the camel here.
Okay.
6,000 pounds.
Wow.
To demonstrate the health of their camels, merchants cut them loose.
Whoa. Watch
The
out.
result? Spontaneous stampedes by creatures that can weigh over 900 pounds. Following close
That-
behind in hot pursuit, the merchant with their wagging stick.
That sounds like a
attempted to
terrible
subdue the
idea.
animal once more.
All right, so this is what you see all over this place. There's camels run around freely, and then there's people trying to corral them. Like beating them with a stick. They grab them by the lip, and then when they have them kind of
It's the
subdued,
connection line
they
for
pull
head
the
swapping.
leg
Also
back,
that,
tie it
yes.
up, and then that restricts
It's
their
the
movement
port.
enough so that they don't run away everywhere.
It's the
So that's why
port.
This place is chaotic.
God, hi, Ordain. Are you enjoying your
Now that I
cake?
know the lay of the land, it's time
Are you
to
enjoying
do
your
some
cake?
shopping of my own.
Bite off the person's head. I don't like that anymore. You what?
It takes years of experience to know which camels
You
are
what?
worthy of your investment.
Huh?
Skilled buyers focus on their feet, teeth, eyes, skin, and hair color. If you're as naive as me,
There's some real young ones back here.
you leave it up to your
Sorry.
local producer to negotiate.
It's my birthday.
When
Oh,
it
happy
comes back
birthday,
with a price
Ordain.
tag of $1,400,
Happy birthday, big
you
man.
just hope you're not being ripped off.
We have to buy one of these camels. I'm told that this is the one. He's just a year too old. To be fair, I didn't choose the camel.
He is-
It was
he is
chosen
kinda
for me,
small.
relatively. Pretty soon.
He's a
we're
very
gonna load it
handsome
up,
man.
we're gonna
Look
put
at
it
his
back in the truck.
lashes.
I have no idea how this works. All right,
He's got
that's
a
how you do
strong
camel
looking
shopping in
hump.
Egypt. First for me. It's a lot different than Whole Foods.
His legs are a little thin, but that's something we can work on. There's a video on the internet of a camel biting a person's head off. I don't think
Like
I don't think I wanna
camels
see that.
are a point of pride. Though that's not always clearly demonstrated, the handlers even show a little respect for the sacred animal,
I mean,
reciting Bismillah before shoving their full weight into the hapless creature.
oh, he's just a baby. Stop being mean to the baby.
I wish this was the end of my transaction, but instead, it's the start of a new problem. Ahmed, our local producer, has failed to properly negotiate with the locals. Now, he's quite literally being chased down.
Liz, do you know what's going on?
He's running away from people. Everyone's asking for money.
Now that we're ready to go,
Huh?
some folks don't want us to leave until they get a little something for themselves.
So right now, we have our camel. We're trying to leave. They won't let us leave.
Who the fuck are these
Down with
people?
the local producer. Everybody wants money. Everyone wants to get paid. This is how it is everywhere. It's all smiles in the beginning until you leave. There's always something else.
Ahmed circles to the back of the truck, where
What is he-
cameraman
what
Kai
is-
and I are already rolling. In his flustered state, Ahmed turns his attention from the crowd to the camera, then to me.
Yes.
What the fuck is happening? Hold on, let me turn the captions off.
Understand.
You what?
If you couldn't hear that clearly, after walking into my shot, Ahmed warns me that if he appears on camera, there will be a price to pay, and that he doesn't mean a financial price. Very nice.
Fuck you, Ahmed.
When you're in a new, chaotic, and near lawless country, generally it's the local producer's job to create a sense of security. If you
Just kind of tell him, eat my ass. You walked into my shot. I think they didn't upload this until they left.
Is getting my team out of this market in one piece.
We have our camel now. This is a narrow escape. This is the camel market of Egypt. A once-in-a-lifetime experience.
Who are the random people?
I will never come back here again. Holy cow. No. All right, even this guy right now, he's asking for money. He's asking for money from me. This is kind of how it works here.
He's just hanging on to the back of the truck trying to get money out of him.
Sometimes a little bit of intimidation. You have the camel.
All right, who's the handsome man? Where'd the handsome man come from? Who's the handsome man? Locals who wanted to be paid for being in shot? Ugh. I saw somebody dragging a camel. Holy shit. Minivan! Okay, where are we taking this camel?
On the way to its final destination. That's about 4 hours away. We're in the van. We're going there too. In the meantime, we stopped here at a camel restaurant. It's a restaurant and a butchery. Let's take a look at what's going on here. First of all this
I couldn't tell what the first part was. Yeah, I thought it was an onion.
It's part of the trachea or a heart. Beyond that, when you
Liver.
come here, can anybody guess what this is?
That's the leg.
Oh, I like it. They're gonna unwrap it. I hope they don't think I'm gonna buy it. I just bought a whole camel for a lot of money. Wow. This is a whole camel leg.
I wonder what all the stamps mean on these, because
so I'm gonna guess this,
we saw these.
So this is the raw meat. I'm gonna see if
what was the place that we saw this at? The
camel liver. Camel liver is a pretty common breakfast and treat.
We just saw it in the day before. Where was it? Handsome crow. I'm not handsome. I'm a crow. Very handsome crow. Very handsome crow.
Chopped green chilies and tomato, then seasoned with a 7-spice blend.
That's a very weird mentality.
This is great.
To go pandering to a person that like you just coincidentally ended up in a shot.
And it looks quite tender. I'm gonna try it just plain to begin with.
Also, Ahmed's kind of a shithead, and I think I'm getting on why they insulted him so much in the voiceovers.
What stands out most to me is the texture.
You get to a point where it's like, I'm never gonna see this fucking dickhead again.
Make your mouth dry while you're eating it, but here,
let's roast him. Let's roast him.
I'm gonna grab some pieces.
Oh no.
That looks real nice.
Oh no. Very handsome bird. Very handsome bird.
Because you know, a camel, they can go months without drinking water. I mean, I do believe the liver is part of that.
Oh, speaking of water, I need some water because I can't go 3 hours without drinking water. Also, I just realized something. I still owe Matt 10 push-ups. Matt, are you still here? I'm gonna do those push-ups real quick.
Seriously.
All right.
96%.
Crows up close.
Most of it looks like this.
Hold on a second.
Infertile, sandy,
There we go.
dry.
There we go. Captions back.
Not surprisingly, all the life in Egypt, human and otherwise, springs
All right,
up near
push-ups
water,
time.
especially around the Nile River. But dotted throughout the land, you can find these. Welcome to the Oasis, a fertile spot within a vast wasteland. 250 miles from Cairo, we hit Bahariya Oasis, home to about 27,000.
Ooh, I want to see the Oasis. Oh, sorry, nighttime.
We have traveled 4
Why are you
to
looking
5
so
hours
close? 'Cause
outside
crows are
of Cairo.
pretty.
Right now, we're in the middle of the desert, and it is freezing. But these steps must go on. We must proceed. The next steps, we've come to a small community. The plan is to prepare the camel tonight, marinate it, let it sit, and then tomorrow it's going to be cooked, and many people from the community will
No,
enjoy it
he's
together.
just a baby.
First, the slaughter.
No. He had so many good years ahead of him. He could have put on probably like 700 more pounds.
An Arabic word that means the people of the oasis. Here the majority are Muslim. That means the slaughter must be carried out in the appropriate ritual manner. The animal must be alive, healthy, and well fed until the time comes. After invoking the name of God,
It's making sad
there's one quick
noises.
cut, and then we wait.
No.
This platform you're watching now censors videos based on Western norms only. But around the world, a site like this is not shocking nor sensational. It's a part of life that,
Yeah.
at least in this culture, no one is too
I mean,
young to
in our
witness.
defense, someday, chat, we're gonna watch the Earthlings
What we're discussing
documentary,
right now is real
and
math
we can
and
show you what
everything.
U.S.
It is freezing
slaughter
up.
practices are like. And I promise you,
See what I'm saying?
there's
After
basically
slaughtering it,
no
they
difference.
hang it up and they kind of debone it. They go joint by joint. They're getting all the muscle off in as big of pieces as possible, and they're putting that in these.
I
buckets over
dumb.
here to the
Oh,
side,
no.
and then that
Oh,
is what's gonna
no.
come tomorrow. Right now it is 8:18.
Chat, shake ordain harder.
Some people think I'm tough too. Right now it's 10 p.m. Very late, but it's worth it. We're gonna stay
Very
right
late
to
at 10
this
p.m.
stuff.
No. Very late is 1 a.m. Lungs.
Marinated
Ooh.
with olive oil, cumin, coriander, garlic, cayenne, salt, and pepper. Soon this camel meat will be made into mandi, an ancient style of underground cooking, prepared by the Bedouins.
All the
nomadic
different
desert
coolers.
People who span across many countries.
Okay. Wait, did you say Bedouins?
Day 2, with our camel prepared and ready to cook, we're heading
Oh,
out of
reading
the
Baron got in the
oasis
middle?
and
What?
110 miles southwest into the White Desert, far from civilization, far from modern conveniences.
Did I say
but
National
also far
Park?
from
White
modern
Desert National Park?
inconveniences, like the Egyptian police.
The police can't get me out here. Military police show up. Well, I guess I'm dead.
Here, just beyond these mountains, we're headed to a place where we're going to be cooking all that
Shake the
camel
birthday
from
boy.
yesterday
Shake the birthday
here in the
boy.
desert. So I'm excited. It's going to be a good
Shake
day.
him for his
We have a lot
birthday.
of food and a lot to see. Let's get going.
I dumb me too. Listen, it's fine as long as there's delicious food involved. Ooh, wind rodin.
Upon
So this is
arriving
another
to our
section.
tented desert camp, instead of meeting Bedouin people, we're introduced to local tour guides, who, we abruptly find out, have never taken on a cooking challenge like this before. Now,
Oh?
we'll see local tour guides who have never cooked anything more than chicken attempt to cook an entire camel.
Wait, what about the
This
people
is gonna
that...
be interesting.
Hold on, did Ahmed put this together? What the fuck is happening? What happened to the people that were just there that like prepared the camel? What the fuck?
Mandi is a barbecue-style meal very popular in
I don't know
Arab
why,
world.
but the
Mandi,
fact that a
the
bunch of
meat must
other
be
tour
arranged
guides
on
and
a
stuff
rack
showed
or
up
slow-cooked
makes me
on
feel
the
like
grill.
Ahmed
Here's how
like
they do
called them and was like,
They've
guys,
already
this is how much I'm
dug
getting
2
paid to
holes
do
and
this.
drilled barrels in the
We'll
ground.
bring you on, and
Let
then you'll
those
get like
holes
part
for
chunk of
fire
that
until
instead
they
of
burn
like
down to
finding
embers.
like some traditional people.
He has all the meat from last night. It's been marinating, and he's putting it on this grill, this apparatus that's going to soon descend into a barrel and get
Okay.
cooked from below with a bunch of cinders. Cinders?
Yeah, I
Embers.
think he's fleecing.
The way they slaughtered the camel is really quite unique because they've almost like just deboned it and taken off the biggest chunks of meat possible. So
But
it's
then-
not like little bitty sirloins or steaks. Like these are big chunks of meat going on.
I don't know, with like these huge chunks of meat, it makes me feel like I'd rather, instead of
Right.
grilling
Big
it,
moment
I'd almost
we've been
rather
waiting for.
braise
The
it.
gentlemen have all the meat stacked up here. This has got to be something like 40 pounds, 45 pounds of meat.
They're doing this
huge
barefoot. I wonder how
camel
hot that
chunks.
sand
We're bringing
is.
it to a barrel.
This thing probably
The
doesn't
most
get
important part is going to go
too
descend
hot.
into the pit. These arms are going to catch the sides, so it's not touching the fire. All the meat will essentially cook and steam inside. Okay, the
I'm
blanket
kind
goes
of
on,
nervous that
trapping
they're
in
like
even more
fleecing
of the heat.
hard and that they're gonna like just
It's almost
burn
like
it,
they're
but
gonna seal it around the edges using the water. So now they take the sand, they bury it, they go around the periphery. In the end, the goal here is to make it really sealed in there. We want the heat to stay in there long enough for all that meat to cook through. It's a lot of meat. It's something like 40,
Okay.
45 pounds of meat that's gonna have to cook before they remove it in a couple of hours.
While the main course cooks, other dishes are being prepared. Rice,
Ooh.
Egyptian bread, salad, stewed vegetables, and braised camel heart.
Oh yeah.
Heart.
Take a look at that. Big, beautiful chunks of camel heart just bubbling away in the pressure cooker.
Put it in
Camel
a
hearts have to be
bowl.
Huge. Camels are so tall, they have to pump blood all the way to the top of their freaking head, which is also very tall. I'm
oh
gonna
my
try
gosh,
it
hold on.
right
I feel like I'm about to sneeze.
now. Whoa.
He's got another knife,
So
chat. Shake him again.
It's a little bit different. The heart tastes like liver. It's very liver.
Shake him again. Oh, hell yeah, food time. Hell yeah, Melsa.
That beautiful dense
Tuesday is
meat.
almost always food time.
Oh, it's so satisfying. It's very nice. It's interesting.
This Thursday, though, we'll probably do something that we haven't done in a bit. Like maybe we'll do paranormal investigation or something. We'll break out the twinks. Break out paranormal twinks.
Hot heart is quite satisfying. Love it.
Back to the meat pits. 3
Oh.
hours has elapsed.
All right, the moment has finally come. There's no thermometer.
I think too with like
there's no way to,
wind-eroded
like,
plains
check it
and
and
stuff
put it
like this,
back in.
especially looking at the rocks, they always
Open
have
the
really
door
interesting
here. We
shapes.
just have to dig it up. We got one shot. If it's still raw, it's ruined.
What do you mean? Oh,
Under this sand
it's
is our
ruined.
dinner. Has this team pulled it off?
Oh, you can see the steam billowing out from the hole.
Will the meat be cooked through?
All that remains is the lid to be popped off, and we're gonna see the meat.
We're about to find out.
I'm getting nervous.
Oh my gosh. The meat looks completely different from before. You can see it's really cooked down from the heat. Oh yes. This looks
Okay,
incredible.
I
The
suppose,
next
yeah,
move,
I think
put it
in
on
terms
the
of like
platter.
size, yeah,
There's
it's
one
shrink
for lid,
down.
And then now this is where the meat is gonna sit. Can I pull some off? Wait, really? Yeah. The meat has become so soft. The fat is tender, juicy, and rendered down. Look at that. Slow cooked, beautiful.
Okay,
steamed,
it looks
smoky.
again like
You take some. You take some.
very
I'll take
similar
some. Cheers.
consistency to
Oh man, that is awesome. All right.
what was it to
Their backs are breaking. That is awesome. That is
can never take my
smoky,
knives.
delicious,
I'm a shake more
juicy
Dane.
camel meat,
It's
straight
expensive
out of a
drink in
freaking
7-star
hole
Michelin
in
bar.
Sahara Desert.
Gross.
It doesn't get better than that. Well done, my man. Wow.
Oh no! All right. Man's knife's as bull as me? What?
Gentlemen, thank you so much for this opportunity. It's a
When
pleasure to
camping
be
once,
here,
best
hanging
pig
out
I
with you.
ever ate.
All right,
Makes sense.
Thank you. This is great. So first of all, the camel looks amazing.
It does.
Incredible meal.
It
We
looks
have all
pretty
the
good in
camel
like the
here.
big
How do we
meteor
start?
areas.
Bahariya oasis first, we can eat vegetable and salad, and after we can eat it rice with the meat.
Oh, literally taking all of my willpower to not dig into the meat that's right in front of me.
You gotta wait, bud. You gotta wait. You gotta go through the vegetables
Also, there's
first.
some potatoes, some other vegetables in here. Oh, and there is some zucchini. It's steamed. It's got salt. It's got tomatoes to add a little bit of acid. It's really good.
Okay.
Which one you choose to eat from here?
Oh, I can pick? Let's go with this one. Oh, no knife or anything. He's really ripping apart the
What
meat
the
just
fuck
as
do we
one
need a
big
knife
chunk
for
of
when
meat
you
is
got
probably
tender
enough for
whole
all of us
chunks
to
of
eat.
camel?
This is incredible. There's fatty bits, there's protein. All of it's getting mixed with the rice. That looks gorgeous. Try it out.
Can we abyss roast? Abyss roast.
Oh,
Delicious.
incredible.
What does that
I've
mean?
had camel
What do you mean
before,
abyss
but never
roast?
like this. Man, the taste is so delightfully smoky, and there's some subtle spices. It's
I'm
such a
confused.
unique kind of meat. Would you compare camel to beef, to goat, to sheep?
All right, how far into this are we?
Different from everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
okay.
agree.
We're about
Hard
to,
to
we're like
pinpoint
we're
it. The
about
texture
over
is kind of
2/3
like
through it.
meat, but it doesn't taste beefy.
Can you abyss roast
I'm amazed.
a
Like, every
behemoth
bite
for
is
us?
little bit
A
different, and I
behemoth?
love that. Since they're cooking it in these
No,
huge
I need
chunks
those
of
for the
meat,
show.
it really
Fuck
retains
you.
a lot of
Those are
its
mine.
moisture. I mean, this is like one.
We don't
whole
cook them.
big chunk of camel. I don't know.
We
which
import.
part This is.
From here.
The shoulder. Really?
Yeah.
You know? So I think
Which
that's the
country is
key
this?
to
Egypt.
unique style of
This is
cooking. It's
Egypt,
like keeping it
Melsa.
all in one piece like this, so that when you steam it for a long time.
But
inside,
so
it's
far
really
it is the it is probably the worst
So you guys
experience.
usually do chicken, you do smaller
I've
animals,
seen
and
on
you
this
took on a
channel.
whole camel.
And I'm sure Sunny would probably agree with that. This episode has been pretty decent, but their local producer seems to be extremely fucking sleazy.
But I'll take local squabbles over police interactions any day. I'm thinking, as long as we're in Egypt, it's probably best
I don't
to
understand
stay
his
in the
description of
countryside,
it's not
far
compensation,
from
it's the
Gentlemen, I
law.
want to say thank you again. Shukran. This is a great experience for me. I can see why people want
Do
like
they,
coming out
is
here.
there an
Places
Egyptian
like
law
Cairo,
that says that they're
busy,
in
it's
somebody's
loud,
like shot or
noisy,
footage, they have to be
chaotic,
paid?
And I like that too, but sometimes you need a break.
Who the
And
fuck
then
would make
here,
that law?
it's completely peaceful, and there's something really interesting. Like when everyone's quiet, it's really
Then a
silent.
leviathan, but I don't like fish. Too bad you're gonna eat fish.
What was that?
Wait,
And I like that too, but sometimes
Wait,
you
wait,
need
wait.
a break. And then here it's completely peaceful, and there's something really interesting. Like when everyone's quiet, it's real silence. What was that?
fuck you, Ahmed, shut up. Oh God. All right, what's next?
Leaving the bustling city
'Cause there's still
state of
another
Cairo
window enough
and
for, like,
heading
a whole
into the
nother
desert
day.
was one of the best choices I've ever made.
This is a place in Arabic, I can't pronounce it, but in English it means difficult place. A name that could be used for all of Egypt.
I mean,
Leaving the country would be even better.
Kind of.
But that will come soon.
Kind of.
We still have one more day here.
Can you
what do you mean why?
hide it? Guys, you don't have to learn other languages.
Egypt's really strict and draconian about public
Figure it out.
filming. Yeah.
Today, I'm joining a couple villagers so I can walk a day in their shoes.
This is something they do often
No,
here.
I wanna
not
see
the
how they live,
calf.
and of course, how they eat.
I have no idea what that is.
This is my last chance to squeeze
Wait,
some
what was
good
that?
moments out of Egypt.
It looked crispy.
And it all starts here.
Today is our 4th day shooting here in Egypt. What we figured out so
What
far
are
is
those
the place to shoot
trees?
is actually not Cairo. Even though we have proper permits, even though the press office of Egypt has said it's okay for us to shoot, almost every time we've come up against the authorities or police, they have tried to either stop us or make us delete our footage.
Why are
we're
they
trying to
such
be extra careful.
dildos?
That's why we're here. This is an oasis.
The baby moo? Yeah, the
Place
baby
in the middle of the
moo.
desert, about a 5-hour drive from Cairo that has so many different natural water springs that a huge population is able to survive on.
Oh.
Today, we're spending the entire day with an Egyptian farmer.
I was gonna say, I was wondering where the body of water was that typically makes up an oasis, but I'm gonna guess that they've basically spread it out and turned it into irrigation. More so than anything.
We are here. We're inside the farm. This is one of his compounds, a place where he cooks and hangs
Okay.
out during the day.
Boo,
This
your
is the
last
gentleman
moon?
himself.
No!
Oh, he said welcome.
Meet Ahmed, a villager who's dedicated his life to the sun.
Ahmed
wind,
or
and sands
Ahmed?
of the
Do we have
desert.
another
This is
Ahmed?
fantastic. I'm so excited to be here because we're going
Fat?
to see a very unique way of life. And it starts here
Ooh.
with his breakfast.
Render down lamb fat in a blazing hot wood.
I wonder what
fire.
that pot's
Then
for.
add tomato. Then green bell pepper. Season with salt, pepper, cumin, and cook until
Sorry, I'm
the
scratching
sauce
my eye.
cooks.
It itches. It
That
itches.
is dish
Help!
ready.
In the
Help!
second dish, he has the same vegetables, but he adds one ingredient I've never seen before. Come take a look.
Is
This
it?
round-shaped biscuit is called kishk, an Egyptian
Kishk.
ethnic food that's been eaten for thousands of years.
It's super hard.
It's basically a fermented wheat milk mixture that's been sun-dried until it's dehydrated and hard.
Oh. Is it like
It's so interesting. It's super hard, grainy, but it has a cheesy taste to it too. Have you ever left cheddar
Cheesy?
cheese out on the counter for too long and it's dried out a little bit, but you ate it anyways because you're an animal like me? It tastes a little bit like that.
No,
And so,
I
of
don't
course,
eat
he doesn't
cheddar
eat it like
cheese.
this. He mixes it
Which
in with
eye?
these other
My
vegetables
right
that's gonna
eye.
kind of
I was scratching my
rehydrate
right
it,
eye.
Bring it back to life. And we're
For
gonna see
whatever
what
reason,
that
when I
tastes
like, I can
So,
see all.
I'm
I
excited.
have my left eye entirely
Cook the
open, but the
kishk
model
into
doesn't think so.
Then cook with tomato and green bell pepper.
The model doesn't think so.
Season with salt,
Maybe I have it
pepper,
set to where their
sugar,
eyes are
and
linked.
cumin.
Maybe I can turn that off
Now,
at some
third
point.
dish is being prepared by Ibrahim.
I am
that
here
look
with
awesome.
Ibrahim. He's also making some breakfast too. This is
Food.
food. Oh, he wants to feed me already. All right, thank you. Oh, that's good.
Yeah, fit.
Tasty.
That.
This is what we saw. I think one of the first places we went.
I'm
to
curious
in
about the,
Cairo. What's interesting is when you start having the same.
The left hand thing, because we saw that earlier. He like almost shook hands with somebody with their left hand, and then he corrected himself. Does Egypt have a thing for not using left hands?
Kind of a combination. It's got
Please
the
tell me
fava
it's not the
beans
poo-poo
with
hand
onions in
reason.
there too. There's tomato.
'Cause
there's
I
green
thought that
bell
was
pepper, and
India.
there's spices. I think I like.
I thought that was India for some reason.
Good morning.
Is it I-163? No, it's I-166.
Incredible. This is just breakfast, and it's so many different
It's
items.
fine,
This
it's
is
fine. I'll
called
just swap it out.
sun
Let's just
bread.
swap it
This
out.
bread is kind of cooked
Here, we'll
half
just-
in the sun
just,
and
you
half
know.
in the oven, just like with the Egyptian bread. They
Better.
use that as
Okay.
the utensil.
Much better.
Let's
Anyway,
start with that.
anywho's.
How do you say delicious?
I forgore. You forgore.
I'm gonna work my way up to the kishk. but
Yeah,
this one
I
is-
just don't think we have anybody here that knows enough about Egypt to be able to do it. To be able to tell us.
That's outstanding. It's like the world's best marinara sauce. The sun bread.
I don't think we have
It's
any
like
viewers
half
from
stale,
Egypt.
Half crispy, but it's the perfect vehicle for all these foods. What's
But
your
I'm
favorite thing
pretty
here?
sure the old left hand is poo-poo hands
This is
is
the one I've been wanting to
based
try.
off of India. I'm pretty sure. I'm not 100% on that. I could be
Try
wrong.
it out now. Oh, that's awesome. This is so good. It's hard to put my finger on it though. I mean, it has the tomato, some fresh vegetables.
According to Good, it's cleanliness reasons.
The texture is
Ooh,
like
so maybe
coarse
it is
oatmeal,
the
but
poo-poo
flavor is just
reason.
Something completely unique.
Do they
There's
use their
some
left
tomato
hand for
and then a
something
lot of
specifically?
richness from the milk in that bread. It's confusing, but it's really good.
Also, are
Is
his
this normal
socks
breakfast?
QR
Is this how you
codes?
usually start out your day?
Those are QR code socks. Ridiculous.
I noticed there's no meat here. Do you have a meal where you usually eat meat?
Lunch.
Which animals do you eat?
The sheep.
Oh,
How often are
Oh.
you eating the sheep?
Quite often, because we prefer to eat our own food. We don't want to get from anywhere else.
okay.
Far from modern conveniences
But-
or really modern anything.
How many sheep do you
Life out
have?
here is all about self-sufficiency. So farming
Wheat.
and raising cattle are essential trades.
For farmers out here, what is the most lucrative?
Being dirt, handling animals that even can cause cross-contamination.
He said both. The balance is important.
Okay, I guess it's just, I guess it's probably also another practice that is like
things from other places and so on.
spread. So like even if it's just kind of became a general thing of like, don't offer left hands.
Further into the village. This is a separate space for their cattle.
This is the farm behind
Also,
me
that
now.
horse had a
Almost all the
serious
animals are
limp.
kept within these brick walls. Let's go inside and check it out. First, what we
Okay.
see, the cows.
Are
I
they-
want to pet you. They don't want to be pet.
Does he,
it turns
I
out.
can't tell if they're tied to
Cows are
something or if
used
the
for
rope's just
agriculture,
dangling there.
tilling, irrigating, and carting.
Oh no, we have a situation.
They also provide the usual meat and milk.
I may have to give up on this whole petting thing. It doesn't look
I
like
want
it's
to pet
working
the
out.
cow.
Their waste helps
Pet
to
the
fertilize
cow.
this already
Do it
stubborn,
now.
sandy soil.
Where's Ember when you need her?
Bull. Is it a bull? Hold on, let me look.
Or
at it.
Graph.
It's a bull.
Horses and donkeys carry freight, goods, or supplies.
The quiet.
Donkeys.
It's a bull.
Actually, you'll still see them being used in the streets of Cairo, one of Africa's biggest cities.
Can you
Okay.
ride it?
That's a pretty good behaved donkey, not gonna lie.
Wait, me?
It's gonna end up looking like what is it, mutton bustin'?
I think I might be a little.
Who knows
too-
what mutton bustin' is?
Then there's the sheep, one of the most commonly eaten proteins in the country.
Farming games are over. We are heading into the sheep
I love
pen
goats
right
and
now,
sheep. I'm
our
sorry,
butcher
goats
is
and
here.
sheep are
He's gonna do his
cool.
best to catch one.
You're very cool animals.
He made quick work of that. I was told earlier.
just grab the
they're eating
horn.
One sheep every 2 weeks. That's like 25 a year. That's a lot. He's taking the lamb to the slaughter point now. and then-
Current discovery, like a lot of
We're
things
going
people
after
just
six.
notice. Hey, Bill died from food. He's just
Here
touching
in
pig
Muslim
shit. Maybe we
majority
should,
country,
shouldn't
it is
touch food with
believed
shit
most
hands.
followers
Yeah,
Islam
yeah.
That all living creatures were made by their God. Animals exist for the benefit of human beings.
Just
and they
holds
must
the
be
bushel
treated
and guides
with
them with
kindness
it.
and compassion.
They're very woolly sheep for
When it
something
comes
that
to
I would
taking
expect to
an
find in
animal's
like
life
the
for
desert.
the purpose of sustaining your own, the slaughter must be carried out in the appropriate ritual manner. The name of God is invoked in order to emphasize the sanctity of life, and that the animal is being killed for food with God's consent. After all its blood drains,
And that's
it's
halal,
time
chat.
for butchering. Here,
But it's
aside
also
from the
typically
blood,
the
which is
methods
never
result
eaten,
in a,
nothing else goes to waste.
what's the word?
The skin is skillfully peeled
A
off and
much
will later be
better-
used for leather production. The organs
Were
of
kids
meat
ride sheep? Yes, that's
presumably
exactly what it
cooked
is. But they
into
usually,
several
if you've ever seen kids do mutton busting, rather than like sitting on top of the sheep, it's more like they just kind of like lay on top of the sheep and hang on for dear life. It's very funny. It's very funny.
Together, marinated with onion, salt, lemon. and
Enjoy
black
your
pepper.
lurk
That
bazants.
gets grilled on an open fire.
I'm here with Ibrahim.
Habibi.
Hi, call me Habibi. And his friend.
Habibi.
Two different dishes out of this sheep. It's going first on this grill.
Okay.
Get all the onions up in there.
Oh. Was that part of the marinade or was
Style here
that tiny
is a
pieces of
balance
the...
between speed and flavor. It's practical, efficient, and these cooking methods can be done pretty much anywhere. At the same time, it's given just enough love with seasonings and spices so it tastes great too.
That's really good. Really delicious. Crisped up a little bit. Almost dried out just on the edges though. Once you kind of crunch through.
Gonna say, that
surface
looks-
area,
it looks
becomes
really
super
good.
juicy inside.
The main course is just
It's not gonna reach me. I have an upside down bunker. Upside down bunker.
How
do you-
A dish made of rice and meat, well known in Arab cuisine, but each country makes it a little bit differently. This is how they do it here.
Oh, wait, what was written on the lid?
They boil meat
Tomatoes,
in a big pot
chilies.
along with tomato and green bell pepper, then season.
Oh, it
with
was
salt
bell
and
pepper,
black
okay.
Pepper, then let it simmer for an hour.
I hide from ordained nuke.
Dish. This is called.
Yes, my
capsa.
upside down bunker. Why do you have an
Now it's gonna put
upside
in the
down
rice.
bunker?
Please. It's got kind of like an orangey broth.
I think that's the
from
rice.
Meat itself, plus the spices together, the tomato, the onion. The rice is going to be flavored.
This is also
and then
one of
as
the
you're
things
eating it,
with,
there's gonna be big chunks of meat inside.
A lot of
Wait,
rice-based
how long?
dishes outside of, say, like
About 20 minutes, and that's going to be ready.
places that you would typically get like what is it? China, Japan, and Korea. Washing your rice is the general practice. But in this case, the starches that the rice have in a lot of more desert countries are part of the cooking process because it thickens up whatever you put it into.
Show me some of his giant vegetables.
So nobody get Mulan Man. Nobody get Mulan Man.
Possible in the oasis as long as you have water. Here,
Wash your rice.
use growing tomatoes, onions, and these.
Those are garlic. Those are garlic bulbs.
Take a look at this. That is crazy. Look at this. This is a giant.
Jesus.
He fed this the ooze from TMNT2. He's gonna pick one of these, and we're gonna have this with our dinner. It's crazy.
Is that a
because it's
beet or a
almost out of
radish?
the ground. What?
It looks like a beet.
Maybe this size. This is 10
What you mean?
times
What you
bigger than
mean? What
anything
you mean?
I've
What you
seen
mean?
before. Whoa, this one's even bigger. Okay, that is the record breaker right there.
Shit.
That's a radish.
That's legit 20-pound turnip here. Freaking huge. So
Oh,
we have our
turnip,
veggies.
okay.
I think we have to get back to the meat, and hopefully
Jesus.
we can
It
incorporate
looks
this.
like it's multiple ones like grown together. I'm almost certain it is multiple, at least two.
This is an incredible spread we have here. The
Which isn't that
culmination of
uncommon
many
when it comes to
people's
growing like
effort
large
put
root
together in one big
vegetables.
meal.
Especially if you throw multiple seeds into a spot and they all germinate at once.
Usually when we do a scene with people, it's like, no, you can eat, be natural. Everyone here is looking forward to it. They're taking bites and they're not holding back at all. That's what I love to see.
Hell yeah,
The
dude.
world's
Give me,
biggest
give me, give me,
turnip.
give me.
They've just been chopped into pieces here and served raw. I'm gonna try one
Fresh
of these.
turnip.
Oh, not bad. It's interesting because it's not as crisp and it is a bit woody. I heard when they get really big, they can be kind of woody tasting. This is the grilled lamb we saw earlier.
Fish.
And then this is.
I mean, you should probably rinse your rice at least once to make sure it's clean. It's clean for sure. Well, it's usually in the case of where they pour it straight out of the package, like that guy did. It's one of those things where, like in his case, using water to clean it multiple times is not a good use of water.
Tender, juicy protein. It's just falling off the bone. You really get the
But
full
it was
flavor
also
of the
going into a
actual lamb.
stew.
Mix that with some rice. The only thing you have to
It was
watch
going
out
into
for
the stew,
is
so it
bone
wasn't too big of a deal.
fragments. They absolutely pulverized the sheep as they were.
Would you pay
kind of
for my
cutting it
upside down
the
cloud
sides.
bunker? Carrie's
When's
going
the
to build
last
it for
time
me?
you had
No.
Last night.
Where's Carrie? Carrie, build my upside down cloud bunker. No. No cloud bunker,
It's very
Corvo.
delicious. Between the grilled lamb and this kind of more boiled lamb, it's like you cover all your texture bases. One is
Gonna
kind of
say, yeah, the
smoky,
grilled one's gonna be
crunchy,
super
the other one's
crispy.
super soft and tender. So you kind of get every beautiful aspect of
I like
the
my
lamb.
stewed
I
meat,
wanna try
baby.
this
I
one.
like my stewed meat. Angel of Death 666. Thank you for the follow. Welcome in.
In a mixture of onion and tomato.
The carnival vault money is empty. The carnival vault money is very empty. There is no money. There is only monies for haircut on Saturday, and there is nothing else.
Literally, spongy,
There's nothing
savory.
else.
This is a beautiful taste.
Kidney.
The kidney. Oh wow, that's a small
Oh.
kidney. That was good. I'm loving all these organs.
The throat.
Oh, the throat. This is interesting. This is the esophagus.
Okay, I don't know
This
what the
is something
texture
I
of a
didn't know
throat
that people
tastes like.
ate
I've had
ever,
like a
except
lot of
I
different
did it
pieces of
about a
animals.
week
I've
and a
never
half
had
ago
throat
in
or
Zimbabwe
esophagus.
For the first time ever.
Ooh.
Here I am
Ooh, that
in
looks tough.
Egypt, and I'm being offered esophagus once again. What is it you like about this?
It's crunchy.
Very crunchy.
Is it
This is a
crunchy
beautiful
or is
meal,
it
super delicious,
like
satisfying?
chewy, like overly
I really
chewy?
Shukran.
To buy a new Ouroboros? Why? Why? What happened to the old Ouroboros? What happened to my Ouroboros, Corvo?
If you're perceptive and if you've watched
What
this
happened to my
series,
Ouroboros?
you may have noticed that I don't really like it here. Now,
Hmm.
as my trip draws to a close, I'm grasping for something positive about this place that I can take home with
I
me.
mean,
One at a time. One at a time.
the people were really nice. The people that he hung out with were really nice.
History, civilization, nature, open air.
Generally,
excellent
aside
weather,
from
and those who come to
feeling like he probably got borderline
Miles
scammed with
will
that
always come
fucking producer.
Egypt is the center of the world. Whatever you crave on earth is found in Egypt. Medicine, science, archaeology.
Archaeology for sure.
I said,
I'm pretty sure the University of Cairo is a very major, like, worldly
Safest
college.
place on the planet.
Mother from another mother.
Safest place on the planet?
That was a donkey.
I mean,
Oh my God, it's happening.
not when the police are like kind of harassing you day in, day out.
I don't need to fall in love with every place I go.
Every minute we're shooting in the city, we're looking over our shoulders. I don't really like it.
And my point of view, even though it echoes from a large platform, it's still one among millions.
I mean, it was still a pretty interesting depiction. Again, the fucking letting the camels run wild at the fucking camel market is crazy.
Change for the best. It's gonna take time.
That's
And
nuts.
when it happens, or if it happens,
I've always wanted to eat pita bread. You can get pita bread at most
I
places.
won't be here to see it.
Today's gonna be brutal. I have no idea what to expect. It's gonna be bittersweet. It's sweet because we're getting out of Cairo, and I can't wait to be literally anywhere.
Oh wait, are you gonna get 4 hours at the airport again?
Uncertain whether we're gonna get back the roughly $10,000 to $12,000 worth of gear that the government officials here thought it was appropriate to take from me.
Probably fucking not. I wouldn't doubt it.
After one more hellish series of interactions with airport authorities, I'm finally given back my hard drives, batteries, lights, and cameras that they took from me on the first day. In true Egyptian fashion,
I'd want that shit like checked out to see if they did anything to it.
walking me to my gate and ensuring I didn't open any bags before entering the plane. When the airplane wheels finally
Y'all are,
lifted
that's
off,
so weird, dude.
well, that was one of the best moments I'd experienced since
And
I
all the
got
traps that go with it. Ordain! No castle. The Boomoo that died earlier in the video? You what? Was not me? Someone left the cage open and he flew away? You motherfucker. All right. This is the one I was talking about. This is the Lebanon one where he does the video with like that really famous Lebanese lady that does a bunch of the traditional cooking on Tickety Tack. Hello? I clicked unfull screen and it's taking forever to unfull screen. All right. All right though, guys. Because of the technical problems, I think we're gonna call it early there. Just to avoid any other issues. I forgot I was already on the correct screen, so I can just do big chatting over here. And I am gonna go like reset my modem and shit shortly. But that's not all we're gonna do today. Later, later, hold on, I'm trying to find who we're gonna raid. We are going to go watch Lord of Mysteries in the Discord. I'm going to have to figure out a way to watch it. I'm probably going to guess like Kiss Anime. Maybe Kiss Anime. But I'm trying to see who's live doing stuff. Oh my. That was somebody drawing a naked model. Okay then. But let me see here. It's not Naked Grandma. No. Somebody was doing, it looks like maybe it's Buff Pup. Because I think what they're using as a censor is one of the little like pup mascots for Buff Pump. And it is Nanoless. It is Nanoless's stream. So I think she's drawing. We may end up rating Kitty, I think. But I'm looking for anybody that's doing anything spooky. Spooky. I know who we're rating.
Sure.
All right. All right, nerds. We're rating Amandal. Ami is currently playing Conan Exiles with Faye and Grim. I put Rain instead of Raid because I'm a goofball. All right. What do we want to do for a raid message? The Egyptian authorities couldn't stop us. Is that what we're gonna go with? Here, yeah, we'll do that. We'll do that. Hold on. Egyptian authorities couldn't stop us. All right, chat. We'll be back tomorrow, noon CDT. We're going to be playing Resident Evil 1. I promise we will actually play it this time. Until then, though, guys, thank you for being here. Thank you for being awesome. And thank you for enjoying the show. Good night. Ahmed couldn't take this video down? Hell yeah.